Good evening, everybody. It's Lynn here, the Go Live Granny, and I'm live streaming here on Father's Day. It's Sunday, the 15th of June, 2025. If you're coming in on the live, welcome. If you're coming in on the replay, then do please, hello Richard, do please put replay in the comments if you're coming in on the replay. Richard is the first in the house, coming in from YouTube. And how are you today, Richard? It's a hot one. It's warm here. It's been a lovely sunny day here. As you can see, I'm not at home. I didn't know this was going to be a plan. Last week when I live streamed from home, I thought I would be live streaming from home last week. And if you remember, last week we were partying because we had lots of birthdays, didn't we? And somebody's sending me messages, but I can't look at the messages while I'm on the live stream, so I don't know. Look, that one is Let's Party. These are the ones I should have had on last week to go with that lovely big star we had last week, but never mind. Let's take that off. I'm going to be a busy bee. I have been a bit of a busy bee. So if Richard, I don't know if you can tag other people, can you, in the comments? That would be wonderful if you could, and get some of our lovely community into the broadcast. Hello, Debs. Nice to see you, Debs. Glad you could make it. Now, I know Kath can't make it tonight. She said she will watch on the replay. Not sure what everybody else is doing. Of course, it is Father's Day, so some people might be out doing Father's Day things. So in this household, we haven't been doing Father's Day things. Very good. Had afternoon exploring Sarah Hold Mill and Moseley Bog. Well, that sounds interesting. I haven't been out, other than out in the garden. I've been out in the garden here at my daughter's house again. I hadn't planned to come this week, and then all of a sudden there was a plan. There was a change of plan. And on Monday, I changed my plans, and then by Monday evening I was on my way here. And I had a little bit of shenanigans, didn't I? I think I did. Yes, I did get a little bit of shenanigans on Monday, because my second train that arrives in Reading arrived 13 minutes. It arrived 13 minutes late. Now, I had a 10-minute changeover at Reading. So if my train is 13 minutes late getting in, you can see what happens. The other train is going to go out before my train gets in. And that's what happened. So I missed the train I should have been on. But when I said to the guard, oh, this train's 13 minutes late, he said, no, it's on time. Well, not according to the details I had, but I didn't argue with him. I just found somebody who would help me to work out which train I was going to go on next. And the thing is, of course, when you miss your trains and you've got passenger assist booked, it doesn't always catch up. It depends. I was travelling sort of tea time and arriving here in the late sort of like about 9:30, and that's not always the best for the best passenger assist. Hello, Andrew, coming in on Facebook. Nice to see you there. So we have Richard and Debs in on YouTube. We've got Andrew in on Facebook so far. Don't forget to share if you can, folks, and then we will get a few more of our gang in. I know some of them watch on the replay, so that's fine. It's jolly hot in here. Now, if I open, I've got a window open. If I open the door, I'll get the cats coming in. Not quite sure whether I want cats in the broadcast, but anyway, I might have to open the door. But if I open the door, I might get family noise coming in as well. Hello, Heather. Nice to see you coming in from the States. Andrew coming in from Scotland. Meow. Richard coming in from, I presume you're in Birmingham, are you, Richard? That's where Richard normally is, but I don't know. I presume you're up. So there we are, just having a little bit of a quench my thirst. You dropped the phone. You didn't hurt me, Debs. You didn't hurt me. I bounced. So as I say, hadn't planned to be here this week, but the plans changed on Monday. And so I am here, and I'm not quite sure how long I'm going to be here. I think I might be here for next week's broadcast as well. But next week, good news, folks. Well, I think it's good news. Because I'm coming and going. Thank you. Because I'm coming and going, and not, not at home at my computer, and I need to do some work for what, one of the projects I'm doing. I decided to buy a laptop. So I ordered a laptop on Friday. My son-in-law advised me just before he's gone on one of his trips, so he's gone. So we didn't have him here for Father's Day today. He would be the father of this household, so he wasn't there. So we didn't do Father's Day celebrations here because he's away at the moment. But I did share a lot of Father's Day stuff into my family WhatsApp group, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But let's finish Monday. So as I say, I missed my train by 13 minutes, and so then I had to wait for another train, and then I was coming to my destination. Now, I wasn't quite half an hour late. So Heather saying, good for me, she loves her laptop. Well, it's very difficult for me to do all the things I've got to do on just a phone. And of course, if I've got a laptop, I can probably broadcast from my laptop, can't I? Which means I've got to broadcast from the laptop and have the phone at the side. So you might get me in. I want to be able to do in landscape, and I think I probably can do that on the laptop. Let's get the laptop and see. Let's just go back because I've missed some comments there. Andrew's had so Richard's in the Valley in Wales next week. You've had a fantastic, Andrew's had a fantastic week performing Made in Dagenham, the musical. 1986 Ford factory in Dagenham strikes for equal pay. That sounds very interesting. I saw some of the pictures, and you looked like you were having a great time, Andrew. So hopefully you were. Richard's got the day after the longest day, which is the longest day is the 21st, isn't it? So the day after the longest day, Richard will be in Brecon Beacons for a wasteful walk with monthly South Wales Buddhist walking group. Okay, that sounds interesting. Heather says, yes, you can broadcast from your laptop. So that will be brilliant. If I can, as long as I can get my laptop working, because my son-in-law's not here for a few days, and so I'm sure that if I can't get the laptop working, I'm sure my granddaughters will be able to help me, or I will put a call out to all you lovely people who I'm sure will help me. I don't think it's going to be that difficult anyway, but it will be so nice to have the laptop and to be able to do. I've got a lot of things to fill in on spreadsheets. I'm not going to go into that. That's a subject we're not talking about at the moment, but if you've been watching my regular broadcast, you'll know what I'm talking about. Longest day, half-day Buddhist ceremony at Brynmere Waterfall. Walk, not wasteful. I read what was typed there, and of course it had done some sort of predictive text or something and got it wrong. So it's a waterfall walk, not a wasteful walk. Well, I wasn't sure. Glad you've corrected me. So you're an expert on spreadsheets. Oh, good. Well, let's hope that I can. All I need is a decent, on a phone. It's incredibly difficult to fill in things on a spreadsheet when you've got spreadsheets with lots and lots of columns. And so I thought, as I'm not going to be at home all the time, and backwards and forwards, a laptop sounded like a good idea. And so I asked my son's advice, and he recommended a reconditioned one. He bought my daughter one a short while ago, and that seems to be fine. So we've ordered the same one for me, and of course I use cashback. So I use cashback, but I use double cashback because I bought the item from Currys, and Currys is a cashback store, but I then bought I bought top cashback gift cards for Currys. So I was able to get the cashback on the gift cards, and that cashback was £9.20. And then I will get cashback on the cashbacks on the Currys cashback site. At the moment it's saying £1.99, but actually that it will be more than that, but it doesn't until till the veal all goes through. I don't quite understand how it works. So I've got at least 10, about £12 at least off my off my laptop. So I'm not sorry about that. It was a reconditioned one, so I've not paid top price either for it. So there we go. Wait a minute, let's go back. Debs is saying good news, she's being serenaded in her other ear by hubby singing along to Phantom of the Opera. Harry Seacombe type tenor voice doesn't stop in advert pauses, loud from the kitchen. Never mind, Debs. Last week I was serenading you because it was your birthday. And you know what? I should have had the birthday boppers on. I had that lovely star and other things, but I don't think I put on the party time boppers, did I? I had the nice big star and I had various things. I can't remember, but I think we should have had these boppers. So never mind. We can have the party boppers, and let's have both, shall we? We can have both if we like. There we go. So let's have a look. Certainly true. Laptop is so useful, and Ray conditioned ones are wonderful, especially double cashback. Yes, you see. So that's the beauty. Anybody doing cashback, don't forget, if any of you are cashbackers, you can buy gift cards for some of the stores. But if you do, be careful. I had to double check, because sometimes you can only use a gift card in store. Sometimes you can use it in store or on the internet, online. And so I looked, and Curry's ones can be used either on the internet or in store. So I knew I was fine. So that's what I did. So I used my double cashback, and I'm very pleased with all my cashback purchases, as you know. And I had another sign up last week. I was telling you there was a good deal on for anybody signing up by I think Monday. And our lovely Laura Skinner, one of our Go Live Galley community, she signed up last week. I need to message her and talk her through how she can get the best deals and the maximum cashback. So there we go. You do like a good curry. You do like a good curry. Aha, yes, very funny. I'm talking about Curry the store, and Richard's making a funny by talking about curry as that you eat. Anyway, oh gosh, I'm hot. Got the window open. I'm going to have to open the door. We might get a cat or two in, but I'm sorry, I'm going to have to open the door, otherwise I might melt in front of you. The sun is on the back of the house, and this is so the sun. I've got the curtains shut to try and keep the heat down a bit, but it's still too hot, and I'm wilting. Hang on a minute. So there we go. That's it. We can do that unless we get too much family noise, and then we'll shut it again. So let's have a look. New comments are coming. Let's have a look. Richard loves Phantom. Both Phantom of the Opera and Debs will remember the Phantom comic strip from Birmingham Evening Mail. And you, oops, hang on. Oh, it'll be so nice when I got the laptop and I don't have to fiddle with these silly the comments. It's so small. Let's see. The Phantom comic strip from Birmingham Evening Mail, and you're a member of Chipper Club, featuring the iconic doggy Tripe Hound. Wow. So there we go. All the memories coming out. Well, I'm going to bring you lots of my memories tonight. Yes, please open the door. We don't care about cats or other noise. We care more for your comfort. Thank you. Just going to have a little more. I know that my daughter's going to be bringing me another big drink up in a minute. She said she would when she comes up. She's going to bring me a cold drink and a coffee. Ooh, double whammy. This is my little bottle that goes in the end of my handbag, and it's so convenient to carry around, but I just brought it in here for now. So let's have a look. Well done, Andrew. Your pictures look amazing. Yes, so Andrew has just been performing in his show, and it looked really good. Andrew, I'm glad you had it. I'm sure you had a good time, and it looked like you certainly did. Sun back of your house is also, but the blackout curtains, which are free on Olio. Oh right, you've got blackout curtains. Well, I have not got blackout curtains. We've got windows. I don't want to actually climb on the bed and open the window there, because I might fall. I've managed to open the bathroom. I've got a little ensuite here, and this is the spare room in my daughter's house. So I have my bedroom here, and there's craft stuff all over. There's some of their bits and bobs here in the wardrobe behind and that, but I've got plenty of stuff in this room. But what I haven't got is some of the knitting books that I need. Now, that wasn't a mistake on my part. And I might call out to any of my knitting friends who watch this either now or on the replay, because a few weeks ago, I will go back to finishing my journey on Monday, but you know, I've got diverted, haven't I? So a few weeks ago, I was at the Riverfest. Some of you will have seen me at the Riverfest live streaming, that wonderful free family event on the island. And while I was there, I saw Ben Holbrook, who is one of the team that put on the Sandown Carnival and the Sandown Regatta. Excuse me, just need a little wipe of the nose. Excuse me, you know I like to dive over here to wipe my nose. That's it. Not so pretty on camera. There we go. And when I saw Ben, I did say to him, if you need any prizes, you know, little knitted toys, things like that, do let me know. Well, he did let me know. He let me know yesterday, and yesterday I was here. Last time I went home, I took home the knitting books that have the things in that I need, but I didn't know I was going to need them, and I didn't know I was coming back so soon. If only I had a crystal ball, I would be able to work it out, but I didn't have a crystal ball. So I did message a friend yesterday, so I have, some of my friends have the same knitting books as I have, and some of those knitting books have what they want is any knitted sea creatures. So that will be octopus, sharks, whales, fish, you name it. I mean, I don't know if they mean old boots that will go under the sea. Mermaids, maybe, I don't know, any of those sort of things, because they want them for raffle prizes at the regatta. Because all these things cost, all these events that they put on cost a huge amount of money. So they have to do all the fundraising themselves. There's no funding for any of these things. So they have to do all the fundraising. So I knew that they might be wanting some things like that. So yes, they've called and see. Well, of course, I said, when's the regatta? And it's on the 10th of August. Now, I've got plenty of wool here, and of course I could get more wool. I don't need to get more wool because I got stacks here, but if I waited till I go home, I might not be going home until the 27th of June. June, that's right. And by that time, we're halfway. I will have lost all my knitting time for making these things. So I reached out to one of my friends who's got some of the same knitting books as me, and said, if you've got any, you know, if there's any things in those books that are related to Under the Sea, could she take a picture? Now, you see, I'm very mindful of not trying to steal people's patterns, because lots of the patterns are copyrighted. But I've bought the books of these, and I just need, obviously I can't look in my own book, but I just needed a picture. And if I've already bought the book, you know, then I thought it would be okay if somebody could actually send me a picture of the page. They can't get in my book, but if they've got the same book. So I didn't think that would be an issue, but it might be. I might have to buy some one or two more patterns, or I might be lucky and find some free patterns. And then, of course, Yvonne reminded me that she said, don't you belong to an online knitting thing? Which I do. Rather than buy the Let's Knit magazine, I subscribed to Let's Knit online. And you can have all the patterns, and they're there. You know, all the patterns are there, except when I tried to log in, I started to log in, and then it all went pear-shaped. So this is why it's so crucial that I get this laptop that does things that I want it to do. I think my phone is getting past its sell by date. I'm going to try and be cheeky and see if the people who sponsored this phone last time will sponsor a new one. I might be seeing them in a couple of weeks. I'm going to try that one and see. That one's not. That one is. Yes, please.
You didn't do it, did you?
No, my daughter's going to open the window for me, folks. I opened the door, and they said they didn't mind. Oh yes, we could have the fan on. I didn't know how it operated. Sorry, my daughter's just going to whiz past, folks. she has bought me drinks and she has bought me coffee. So that's nice. Now she's going to try and open the window. And that's it. We said we didn't mind if we got cats in. They would rather I didn't melt on camera. Yes. You want something to put that on? What? Sorry? Oh, yeah. Okay. Can you get by? Give us a wave. She's been a garden gnome. She's still being a garden gnome. She's doing all the watering. Matching tops. Yes, Richard noticed we got matching tops almost. Look, there we go. All right. Accidental matching top. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, she's put a fan on for me. Put it on spin too. That's it. Okay. All right. Then in that case, you can shut the door. The cats might come in the window, but that's fine. That's fine. There we go. It's fine. Use cake talking. Okay. So she's just sorting out that. Right. So Debs is saying she's getting grief from her Riverside Gala organiser. So glad you didn't go. Time is too short to moan about lack of communication. Visitors there left early and came to you instead. Oh dear. Jazz is a sunny vicarage in a sunny vicarage garden painting. Oh well, that's it, isn't it? So many things on. People have so many choices as to what they can go to. So you just have to make it, exciting. Let's have a look. Richard says you have a neck fan that recharges and has 5 settings. Well, no, she's put me a fan on the side here. There was one in the corner, but it wasn't an ordinary fan. It's not one of those fans that go round, and I wasn't quite sure how it operated, so I didn't fiddle with it. But she's sorted it now, so I shall be nice and cool now. And then she's bought me a drink of fizz. I don't know what fizz it is. I think it's fizzy water. And then she's bought me some coffee as well. How lucky am I? So let's go back to where I was. I can't remember. I'll tell you what, I'll go back to my journey on Monday, and then I'll try and pick up. If I've missed bits out, then you have to let me know and bring me back to the bits I forgot. So on Monday, as I say, my second train, that's right, my second train was 13 minutes late, which meant I missed the next train. And then I had to ring my daughter and say, I'm going to be late. I don't know how late I'm going to be. And then when the guard came through the train, I said, oh, can you tell me what time I'm going to arrive if I get this next train? And they told me, and I thought, oh, I might be in luck and get half my money back, because if you're more than 15 minutes late on the trains, you get some money back. So if you're 15 minutes late, you get a quarter of your money back. If you're half an hour or more, you get half your money back. If you're an hour late, you get the whole lot. Fortunately, I arrived, but it was just under half an hour. So I will put the claim in, but I will get half my money back, and that's all better than nothing. There we go. So anyway, Richard's saying like dominoes. Sadly, I've forgotten what that refers to. Not quite sure what that refers to, Richard. Let's have another little drink. Oh, that's nice. That's a sugar-free fizzy flavoured water. Very nice too, it is. It tastes like one of the berry ones. So it's very nice. Anyway, I'm just here sort of making a little space on this table. This is my craft table. And on my craft table, trains being late has a knock-on effect. Oh, yes, like dominoes. Sorry, yes, Richard, it does. But you know what? I didn't mind. I actually only ended up just under half an hour late. So I will get a quarter of my money back. That's fine. I don't mind. It's better than nothing. And, I wasn't that late either. So look, I've got all these lovely little bottles on here. These are my little bottles that were on here last time I was here. And last time I was here, of course, I was with, now what we were celebrating something. What were we celebrating? The twins' 18th birthday. That's what we were celebrating. And all my grandchildren were here. And I had my little grandchildren. And if you remember, I didn't make, but I decorated some unicorn watering cans. Okay. Can some of you tag? I don't know if anybody can tag Tracy. I don't know if Tracy's in yet, or Susan, or any of the gang. If any of you on Facebook can do the tagging, or if any of you on YouTube can nip over to Facebook and do the tagging, that would be helpful. I know Kath's not coming in tonight because she's doing Father's Day stuff for her with her children, her daughter, who's celebrating John's Father's Day. John being Kath's husband. So that's why they won't be in tonight. Anyway, this just reminded me of that happy weekend we had. Oh, Susan is here. Sorry, she's in already. There she is. She's just commented that she's in. So these little bottles, this is, oh, thank you. Susan's tagging Tracy now. So these little bottles, this has got, it's got crystal drops in it. And it's sort of like a little bit of paint, crystal paint. And I made lots of spots all over and decorated those lovely unicorn watering cans. I bought the watering cans for the grandchildren, but they were not very sparkly. So we made them lots more sparkly with lots of lovely bits and pieces on them. And these bottles are still here from when I did that last time. So that was just reminding me what I did before. I've got some craft bits here, and I've got some knitting as well. Now, so anyway, finished Monday. I got here on Monday and I've been here all this week. I will be here next week. I will be here around till the 20. So next week will be, I'm probably here for about another 2 weeks. And then I'm going to be home. Well, who knows what happens. You know, when families need support and things, you do what you do. And I know that I would quite like to be home for the 29th of June because we have a big Armed Forces Day on the Isle of Wight and we've got the Red Arrows flying over Ryde. I'd quite like to be there, but if I'm needed here, then it doesn't matter. But, you know, I think that's what might be the plan. And, of course, there was a plan too. Hang on, there's something else on. I've got various things to show you. And then I'm going to talk about my dad and memories about my dad, because I know some people wanted to hear that. Right. So one of the things that became tricky because I was going to be home. I thought I was going to be home and not here. Now, of course, lots of you know I've been doing Slimming World. Steel gravity fed by Edwardian designed pipeline when water was earned by, as was gas and electric under Uncle Joe Chamberlain. Right, okie dokie. Hang on. Oh, sorry, I missed your other comment. You have Twinings raspberry infusion in your council pot. Lovely Mid Wales Elan Valley tap water. Okay, righty-ho, and then went on to comment about steel gravity. So that's right, that makes sense now. Steel gravity fed by Edwardian designed pipeline when water was owned by Birmingham Council, as was gas and electric under Uncle Joe Chamberlain. Right, okie dokie. So that's all about the water up there. We need an address for Isle of Wight Age UK, please. Okay. Well, Debs, I don't know whether I think somebody else wants somebody else wants the address for Age UK. I wonder whether if I'm going to check and see, oh no. Right, okay, let me sort that one out, Debs. I'll give it to you. But if you do send them to Age UK Isle of Wight, please let me know how many you've sent and let them know that it's to add into the Go Live Granny community total, because they have given me a total, but I don't know that Patricia's have been added in yet. She sent hers directly to Isle of Wight Age UK, and I'm not sure if they've added them into our total. I've messaged them and said there were more that came from Patricia. Could they add them to our total? So I need to know myself how many you're sending in. Oh, right. Oh, look. Susan says you could send them to her and she'll take them to Age UK. Susan, that would be wonderful, as long as I get in, you know, obviously before the end of the month, as soon as you can. So we have done 1,400 and something. I can't remember how many the something was, but they have counted. So I think I told you that the smoothie hats we were sending in, they had staff shortages at Age UK Isle of Wight. And so that what they were doing, because they were trying to get the total, the running total, to see if they'd hit target, and they have hit target. The target was 12,500 hats. So anyway, because we had so many hats, it has smashed the previous, yes, absolutely. Because we had so many hats, they put them to one side because we wanted a total of all of ours together. And then one of the members of staff, they did tell me which member of staff, sat and counted all of ours. And that we had done 1,400, but I don't think that counted Patricia's hats, the second set of hats she sent direct to them. Also, somebody else has messaged me that they wanted to give me hats at the library on Tuesday, and of course I'm not going to be there, so I've had to send a message to her to tell her what to do. So there are quite a few more coming in, but so they smashed the total. So it was the total that we had to do in order for the money to stay on the island was 12,500. They're somewhere near 14,000 at the moment, and still the hats are coming in, so that's brilliant. So we're just just working on that. Susan's saying that's fine, Debs, if you message Susan, and she will give you her address after the broadcast. So obviously we don't want anybody putting addresses in this public domain, because that's not a safe thing to do. So make sure you do it privately, or if I have to be a go-between, that's fine. But I expect Debs and Susan can communicate on Messenger and sort that one out. Thank you, Susan, very much, because I'm not going to be around. In fact, I'm not going to be back on the island, I don't think, until after they need all the hats in, because the hats have to be in towards the end of June so that they can get them over to the mainland to count in the total. We're going to we are going to need a bigger Isle of Wight shape, but Richard, this time we didn't use the shape because they needed to collect they wanted to get them in early to see how they were getting to their total and make sure. So I let them go early. I didn't actually put them out in any design. I did take lots of photographs of all the different hats that were coming in as people were sending them to me. And then, of course, don't forget, when I was at Basingstoke Station one day, I collected a big bag of hats from Jackie Hennessy. She spotted that I was going to be going through Basingstoke Station. She said, she saw that I had gone through it, and she said, if I'd known, I could have given you my hats. I said, well, don't worry, I'm going back through Basingstoke Station. And we met up very briefly. It was a good job it was on a time when I had a few minutes spare between trains. And of course, this time I did have time spare because I missed my train at Basingstoke, but it didn't matter, as I say. So anyway, yes, thank you everybody who's done the hats for that project. Now I've got another project for you. That's brilliant. Debs, did you take pictures of your hats? Do take pictures of your hats, because obviously I'm not going to get to see them. So if you can take a picture of them, I would love to show the picture on the Go Live Granny community page, and through the Go Live Granny other page. So it would be fantastic if we could see those. It was a bit more tricky because they were coming in from different places this time, but it doesn't matter. You've done a fantastic job, and I'm well pleased that we've helped to smash the total. So I don't know where they'll get to. It's over 14,000 at the moment. 12,500 was what they had to get in order to keep the money that came in. So I think they will be sending me a certificate or some information that tells us how many we've got. But at the moment, so I will message them after the broadcast. I will send a message and say we are expecting more hats in, and try and tell them which direction they're coming from, so that they know. There we go. So set record earlier, communicating by messenger simultaneously east and west to my professor friend Will Buckingham on his secondment in Taiwan, and my friend Beth in Las Vegas. So total of 8 hours west. Sorry. There we go. Okay, right. So that was Richard with those comments. Right. So anyway, by moving backwards and forwards, it's a bit confusing because I started my Slimming World journey when I was on the Isle of Wight. So I signed up at my local group. Then, of course, I spent a lot of time here at my daughter's. So as a Slimming World member, you can actually log in, you can weigh in at any Slimming World group, as long as you've got your card. So I do a lot of Slimming World weigh-ins here in my daughter's area, and that wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter that I joined there, but I'm way in here. Except that you know how I love a bargain, and I don't like missing the bargains. And every now and again, there are bargains to be had with Slimming World. And so every now and again, they will run what they call a countdown, which means that if you book 6 lessons in one, book and pay for 6 Slimming World classes groups in one go, 6 or 12, you get, so if you book 6, you get 1 of them free. If you book 12, you get 2 of them free. But also, they were running an extra, it was a double whammy. They were running an extra promotion, and there was a Slimming World street food cookbook free if you booked by this week. Well, I knew that I was, I knew, haha, who knows what, that I don't have the crystal ball, remember. I was going to be at home to weigh in this time. And I had transferred my membership to my daughter's group previously because I wanted to get the previous countdown offer with the free book. But of course, now I wasn't going to be here and the offer was running out this week. So last week, I transferred my membership back to my own group. Talk about shenanigans. And then, of course, I suddenly found out that I was going to be here this week. So I was going to miss out on the deal because I put my membership back there. I messaged the consultant there and there wasn't anything she could do about it. So that was fair enough. I mean, you know, it's not a huge deal, but you know me, I do love my bargains. So it'd be 2 free lessons, which is worth more than £10, and a free book, which is worth another £5. So that's £15 worth of bargains. So anyway, wasn't going to make a major fuss. If I couldn't do it, I couldn't do it. That was it. Well, I weighed in on Friday at my daughter's group. As I got there, the consultant said to me, "Oh," she said, "I noticed you changed back to the other group. Did you mean to do that?" And so I explained what had happened. And I said, "Well, I thought I was going to be there and I wanted the free book and I wanted the deal." She said, "I can sort it." And so she wangled some magic and she sorted it. So I paid my next, I still had this week's group and next week's group I'd already paid for, but you can add a countdown on to the end of where you've already paid. So that's what I was doing. I was paying in advance for the, you know, after these next 2 lessons, then another 12 lessons after groups after that. So anyway, she did it. She worked her magic, and look, I've got another free cookbook. This is street food, and some lovely things in here. Look, creamy smoked salmon crepes, chicken schnitzel sandwich. I have to be careful with the bread. I have to have gluten-free bread. So some of the recipes in here won't work for me. That I could use gluten-free bread on that. Some of these I can tweak, but there's some lovely, lovely recipes here. And of course, the upshot was also that I lost £4 this week, which is just as well because last week I put £4 on. So £4 went on, £4 has come off. And I think I've taken a little bit more off in the last couple of days as well. So that's pretty good. Lovely healthy meals here. And I find it perhaps even easier to do the healthy meals when I'm doing it, when my daughter and I work together. So sometimes I make the meals, sometimes she makes the meals, depends what we're doing, or sometimes we both make the meals. So let's have a look at the comments. Whoops, hang on. Right, Dave's is saying, you're doing some on Tuesday, all being well. Oh, right. You're doing some on, do you mean knitting? Debs, was that shaking issues lately and needed to paint for your fairs? Yes. So obviously you have to do what you have to do, and you can fit in the knitting in between. But if it is the smoothie hats, please take a picture, Debs. They mean so much to me because I know how difficult it is for you to knit. You know, some of us find it much easier. I know that because you have the shaky hands, it's very difficult to do it. And I really commend you for doing it and helping with charities, because it is much more difficult. So well done you. And, you know, I'm thrilled to bits that you're doing it. Let's have a look. So, right, Richard loves street food. We have a weekly street food venue down at Digbeth. Excellent. Digbeth Dining Club. Deb says smoked salmon and schnitzel. She's there. Okay, let's see what I can do. You know, get on your plane, get down here. I'll have to look. I don't know how. I mean, most of these recipes are so easy that yes. I mean, I would have to read all that up. Oh dear. It does have quite a few sins. That one does have quite a few sins. I try to go and choose the ones that either are free food, like this cottage pie jacket potato. That's a free food, so no sins to count there. So I'd quite like. I like to save my sins for my hi-fi bars and my pom bears, like they're gluten-free crisps that I can have, and one of those small bags is 3 sins. If I have the cheese ones, it's 3 sins. If I have the barbecue ones, it's 3 sins. If I have the salted ones, it's 3.5. So I don't want the salted ones, but sometimes that's all we can get. So I have to give an extra half then. And I would rather have that extra half as a Muller Light yogurt, which is just a half sin. So there we go. Right. Let's have a look. Richard's saying, which brand of gluten-free bread do I prefer? I rather like, no, what's the one she bought for me today? I can't remember. There's 2 sorts I have. One is the Warburtons, but I think it's the other one, the other gluten-free one. It's a seeded one. A seedy one. I can't remember, Richard, but I know that I have. You know, I can only have that. I at one point, I was fed up because I couldn't eat bread, so I've had a lot. I used to have a lot of bread, and then when I went on my Slimming World journey, I also, when I went grain free, I couldn't have bread, and then I discovered gluten-free bread. Of course, it is more expensive, but I have 2 slices a day. 2 slices make a B, one of my B choices, which is you get with Slimming World, you get 2 A choices, which is your milks and your cheeses, you know, your calcium and all that, and your B choices are all your fibre things. And I do like the hi-fi bars, so hi-fi bars, 2 hi-fi bars would be my B choice, or 2 slices of the gluten-free breads that I'm allowed, and that's a B choice. And then if I have bread for breakfast, I do have it bread and I have seriously cheese on it, and then I have Marmite and I put tomatoes on the top and it's delicious. So I have that sometimes for breakfast. Then I will have my hi-fi bars, but I'll have them later in the day and count them as sins, so I can have those as sins instead, which is what I do. Oh, Susan says she'll take a picture of Deb's hats as well when they get there. That's brilliant. Thank you. What a cooperative team we have. Genius seeded. No, I don't often get. So no, the genius is. It depends where we shop. Hello, Tina. Tina Furnival's in the house. Lovely to see you, Tina. I don't often find a genius one, Richard. One of them is a seeded one. I know one of the ones I have. Right, let's see. Go back. Right, okay, Susan. I'll talk to you about that. Yeah, I'll talk to you about that afterwards, Susan. Sam says, me and my best friend Jackie says, hiya. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Sam. Richard's saying Pom Bears sponsored a cricket one-day competition. Well, what do you know? You learn something new every day. I didn't even know about Pom Bears until I came to my daughter's house and we were looking for things that were gluten-free that I could have, and we found the Pom Bears. Ooh, good choice, Marmite and Seriously Cheese. Yes, and but the Seriously Cheese, do you know it? Shenanigans. Some of the Seriously Cheese. So we go for the light Seriously Cheese, and we can have 1A choice is 55 grams. Okay, so 2A choices. If I want to have just cheese and not milk. So I started drinking black coffee because it means I can have more cheese, and I like more cheese as opposed to coffee. So I now have my coffee black, and then I can have double lots of cheese. So I could have 3 original Baby Bells, or I can have 5, I think it is, Laughing Cow triangles of the light ones. Or there's all sorts of different cheeses, but the Seriously cheese, you can have if that's what you have, and it's lovely spread on toast, or it's lovely. I had it on tonight on a jacket potato. Just popped it on, and of course it melted on the hot potato. And I can have so I can have 55 grams as one A choice. So 2 A choices is 110 grams. Well, that's brilliant if you buy your seriously cheese in a shop that sells them in 110-gram pots. But you have to be careful, because some of the supermarkets have them in pots of 125 grams. So then you have to get the scales out. Of course, you don't have to get the scales out if you're using the 110-gram pots, because 110-gram pots is 2 A choices if you want to use that. If I only want to use 1 A choice, I just divide it down halfway down the pot, so I don't need to get the scales out. So, but we could only, this week we were in, where were we? I think we were in Lidl's. Was it Lidl's? Or Aldi's, one of those, and we could only get the 125-gram pots, and it's just a blooming inconvenience, a bit of shenanigans going on there. But I'd rather have a 125-gram pot and weigh it than not have my seriously cheese. So let's see. Debs loves seeded Costa toast, but the half-pound. But to be honest, half a pound of butter on top. No, you see, we don't do butter. So, but the cheese is lovely. You put the cheese on it. You don't need butter. And it's working because my weight's going down again. So Susan used to like the Pom Bear cheese and onion, but they've stopped doing them, annoyingly. You don't like the cheese one. Oh, what do you like? The barbecue ones? There's barbecue ones as well, Susan. They're nice. Genius do lovely brioche rolls with saffron got coloured buns, available at Tesco's or free on Olio app most weeks, by excellent squad captain Nicola. Okay, so I don't think we don't have. So I don't know much about an Olio app. Is that where you get certain free foods? I don't know that we get that that's applicable on the Isle of Wight. I'm not sure that it is. So Debs is saying, yes, 125-gram cheese is a problem. Take a bite first. Yes, I know, Debs. I could take a bite out first and then it will be 110. But who am I cheating? I'm only cheating myself. And if it goes in your smacker, it must go on the tracker. That's what they say. And of course, it will show, it will show if I cheat. My weight will not go. And my daughter and I, we're vying because we've both lost similar amounts of weight. We're both heading towards 4 stone loss, and we're going to see which of us can get there first. I mean, I don't mind if she wins, really, but it's just a bit of fun and healthy competition. So my next award will be 4 stone award. I've plateaued. I did my 3 stone, and then I got to 3.5, and then I've wavered between 3.5 and back to 3. It was going like that. But this week, with the 4 pounds off again, I went back over 3. So I'm more than 3.5 stone off at the moment. And if you have a little bit of a gain, it really doesn't matter, because it's only a little bit of a gain, and then we get back on plan. I still know that I've lost over 3 stone, so I'm still very happy with what I've done. And I will get to talking about my dad later, which is what the title of this broadcast is about. But I just do all the other stuff in between. Well done, both of you, that weight loss. It's amazing. And you know what? It's so much better when we do it together. Even if I'm over there and she's here, we still talk about our food. We still show pictures of our food to each other. And I put my pictures up because I hope it inspires other people. Right. So Richard was put onto it by Andrew. Oh, the Olio app. Yes, I think I'd heard Andrew talking about that before. Let me just have a swig of my black coffee. Now, I don't have just plain black coffee. I do have flavour drops in it to flavour it. But the flavour drops are no sins. Sin-free, something else I found that I could have sin-free with the Slimming World. But of course, don't forget, weeks ago I told you that my taxi driver told me Slimming World was a scam. Well, I don't worry much about the scam since I've lost over 3.5 stone. They can say it's a scam. I don't know what they, the thing was that the lady who was telling me thinks you shouldn't have to pay to lose weight. most things have a cost to them, and I don't think so. If you think that as a pensioner I pay about £5.60 a week, except if I get 2 free weeks and then some free books, it's better still. And so say, right, so let's say it's about a fiver. If we take it, and I've got the 3 weeks. So say it costs me about a fiver to go to Slimming World. Okay, and I usually take something to put in the basket. They have a basket, so Slimmer of the Week gets the contents of the basket, and so each of us takes something to put in the basket that must either be sin-free or very low sin items. And we've won that basket, on more than one occasion. Debs is saying, weight loss for you. Hang on, whoops. Great weight loss for you. My best weight loss was being pregnant, but I'm not doing that again. You do make me laugh, Debs. So no, I did Slimming World back in 2005 going into 2006 when my daughter got married, and I lost over 3 stone for her wedding. But then life happened, and life was very busy, and I've had some really traumatic situations through my life. It's been like a right old roller coaster, and so the weight went back on. But now my daughter and I, we're taking it really seriously, and what I understood before was when you get to target, if you have a target weight and you get to target, if you stay inside your target and you've got £3 either way, so there's a £6 window there, and if you stay within that, you can go to Slimming World for free. So I don't think that's much of a scam, do you? And I don't think it's a scam if it helps you to have a much healthier lifestyle. The person who told me that said, well, why should you have to pay for it? But I thought, well, I didn't have time in the taxi to tell her really what it was all about, but somebody had told her it was a scam. I think it's probably somebody who went to Slimming World, didn't follow the plan, didn't lose weight, and then said it was a scam. I bet that's what happened. Anyway, I'm loving it. So say it's about a fiver by the time you've got the 3 weeks put in. So my maths isn't very good, so don't worry about that. I get to go to meet a group of people, a lovely lot of new friends for my fiver. So we can state a group, which I always try to, because you get all the benefit of the information, and you're being given a class on what works. Why wouldn't you want to be there? And so I was spending more than £5 on chocolate and naughty things in a week. So to me, it's win-win-win. I don't see why some people get. I saw somebody else on social media this week running Slimming World down, but I think that's because he was running a weight loss program. Actually, don't run the opposition down. Just show how good you are. It's like in anything. Don't run another person down. Just put out all the benefits that work for you. Some people will go not do Slimming World, but they will do a different weight loss program. That's okay. People have choices, and I have a choice, and I told that taxi driver that I had a choice, and I was happy with the choice that I'd made. So there. there. Right, let's go back. So do seated Tai Chi. It burns calories and useful for those limited mobility and a 4,000-year-old integrated holistic health system. Excellent idea. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube and on the internet that one can follow, and that's really good. I like watching Morning Live, and at the end of Morning Live they have strictly dancing workout. It's not very long. You can extend it, of course, but they do it as a for people with full mobility, and then as people with mobility issues, so as a seated thing. So there's lots of options out there. Yes, Richard, that's great. So Sam's friend Jackie will be 83 on Saturday. So did we sing to your friend last week? And if not, we can sing now. So if we haven't sung, let's sing anyway, but I won't sing until you've given me some birthday emojis. You know the score. Right, so Richard said that's a good incentive and reminds you of Old Harvest Supper contributions at school from Dad's greenhouse. Yes, so taking in all these things It is a good incentive, and some weeks there's so much in that basket. And of course, I was slimmer of the week, not last. I was slimmer of the week before. So I was slimmer of the week, and then I went back and I actually put on weight. But of course, some of that would have been because at here where I am, I weigh in a morning, and when I'm at home, I weigh in an evening. And when you weigh in the evening, you are more weight than you are in the morning. So it wasn't really a gain of £4; it was a gain of less than £4. But anyway, thing is that I took it off again. But before, there was a huge basket of goodies, and I got it for Slimmer of the Week. And that was the same time I won the raffle at the Slimming as well. So that was a week when I won all sorts of things. I won on a tombola in the library. I won a raffle at Iceland, which I then donated on to one of our food projects on the island. And then I won £3.20 on the lottery as well. It wasn't that huge Euro Millions lottery, unfortunately. Well, it was, but it was not the great big money. Never mind. You have red. Whoops, hang on. You have Deb has red cherry tomato plants, Hungarian wax chilies, bee irises. Anyone near Cambridge who wants some? I'm afraid I'm too far away, Deb. Thank you. Otherwise, I would say yes. Don't punch down, lift people up. That's right, yes. And I don't understand why anybody's always putting other people down. Don't look down on people unless you're giving them a lift up. Unless you're looking down to help them up. That's the only reason that you will look down on anybody. That's what I learned. So absolutely right. So Richard's saying art with Chief Free on YouTube. Right, okay. Send a link and then I'll understand it. She is a same friend. So do you mean she's the same friend we sang to the other day? Maybe she is. Deb has a chair, a little standing exercises on Mondays. Lots of MS sufferers with us. Excellent. Yes, there's so many exercises, aren't there, out there that you can tap into. YouTube is absolutely full, of all sorts of things, and it's just amazing. And YouTube, you don't need a subscription to YouTube. You just go on and look and see all those things there. So that's marvelous. Hello, Alexandra Bruce, coming in on Facebook. Nice to see you. Nice. I am fine, Alexandra, but you will see I am not at my home, my usual background. I am at my daughter's house. Not a plan that I thought I had when I spoke to you last week, but a plan that happened on Monday. And here I am. And that was fine. The only thing about it was I had done a big Sainsbury's shop. I did a big Sainsbury's shop on Saturday night, I think, to come on Monday. Or was it on Sunday afternoon I did it, to come on Monday. And then I found out I needed to be back here. And so the shopping arrived, and of course, some of it, I mean, my freezer was quite full. But I managed to squeeze a few of the things in the freezer that I was normally just put in the fridge, but they were things that could freeze. So I managed to squeeze all those little gaps and put some things in there so that I would get them when I came back and I could defrost them then. But I had got, so I've got one of those big cooler boxes. Now, I thought I was going to travel lighter this time because I didn't think I needed to be bringing so much this way, here. But, of course, I then had all this food. So some of it went in the fridge and it's got long dates on it. Some of the yogurts are long dates into July and maybe into August. So those were fine. The eggs had a long date on them. But some of the stuff obviously was going to go off. So I had filled up with a lot of lovely fruit because I was going to have a very fruity week, fruit eating week, a nice healthy week. And then I got some lovely fresh vegetables as well. And then I'm not going to be there. So I packed what I could into so strawberries and the blueberries and all the things like that. I packed into my big cooler box. And I brought those with me. So that box sits on the top of Navy Nora and I could just push it along. That was okay. but it meant I was more loaded than I needed to be. And then my neighbours had a benefit. You love my hat, thank you. I've got two hats on actually, Alexandra. I have got this lovely Busy Bee one that Tracy gave me, and I don't think Tracy's in the house, is she? I don't know whether she's obviously out somewhere or doing something, but she can watch the replay. So she gave me this lovely one with the bees on, and of course I am going to bring back my White Buzz networking group that I used to run to help local businesses network with each other so that they got more business. And so I'm going to do that again because we need businesses to get more business. And I was pretty good at introducing people to other people and getting more business, you know, going between local people, shop local and all that. So I've decided to revamp my White Buzz group. My White Buzz Facebook page has been there in the background all the time. And so I'm just going to spend a bit of work on it this week. When my new laptop comes and I can do all these bits and pieces, I'm going to revitalize my White Buzz group. So I thought I'd better have the bees. When I saw Tracy had bees, I said, I want some like that, not knowing she had a spare set. And she gave me the spare set. And then this one says, let's party. And of course, last Sunday we were saying happy birthday to everybody and his wife. I think nearly everybody was having a birthday last week. So there we go. Yeah, Richard's saying that your freezer is much more efficient if it's full. It was pretty full anyway, Richard. I had to jiggle about to get some. I got some bacon that said it could be frozen, so I managed to jiggle the bacon in, and I managed to jiggle something else in. But then so I booked a taxi to take me to the hover because it's always easier when I've got to go and catch the hover to make sure that I'm going to get door to door easily. So I booked a taxi. And just before the taxi came, I ran to my neighbours and knocked on the door, and I hoped they were going to be there. The thing was, if they weren't there, I would have left it inside my front door and sent them a message because they have my key and say, go and collect the bag of food. So I gave them a bag of, you know, the lettuce and some of the bigger things and the potatoes. I bought 8 jacket. I do love a jacket potato. So I bought 8 potatoes, you know, to keep me going for a while. So I gave them all of the potatoes and some other things. I think, did I have courgettes? I can't remember. You know, it was a nice lot of goodies in there, apples and all sorts of things. So you know, they've done a lot for me, so I didn't really mind giving them. You know, I mean, it was a pleasure to give them what I didn't want it to stay at home and rot. I wanted somebody to have it, so I gave it away, and it didn't matter. Got some 9-inch yellow bananas yesterday from the co-op, free on your Olio, a dozen. Wow, your Olio app sounds pretty good. That's pretty amazing. So that was a lot of what's happened in the week. Are we going to sing? Are we going to sing to Sam's neighbour? Sam, what's the lady's? No, not Sam. If you had phoned at Sainsbury's, you could have changed the delivery to Tash instead. Oh, I never knew that. Except that, Susan, by the time I knew, I think it was already. I think I didn't know till close on delivery time that I was going to. I think it was probably already out for delivery when I found out I was going to change. But thank you for that. I will bear that in mind another time. And Advantage YouTube will be big on your new laptop. Watch. Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to this laptop. I've been promising myself one for a long time, but I just wanted some advice on what to get. And my son had been rather busy, and we hadn't had time to have that conversation. But then, of course, I remembered that my son-in-law had bought my daughter one, and I thought, well, hers seems to be absolutely fine because I've used hers sometimes. So I thought, well, why don't we just have the same thing? So that's what we've ordered, just the same thing. So we're just now waiting for an email to say that it has arrived. We're going to do click and collect. And so we're just waiting for the email to say that it's arrived in the local store. That will be good. Thank you, Susan, for that advice anyway, about the changing the delivery. Well, that's it. Right, okay. Lot less bother with a hover. Yes, Richard knows that when I go on the hovercraft, I usually say, oh, it's a lot less bother than a hover, which of course for those of you who you may or may not remember that years ago there was the hover lawnmower advert. Was it's a lot less bother with a hover, but of course I was on the hovercraft, which takes 10 minutes. And some of you might have seen that I live streamed. Kath was, I knew she'd been commenting she'd been posting comments, and I could see that she was obviously about on the time when I got on the hover, and I know she loves seeing, me going across there. So I did a live stream on the hover. It's 10 minutes from Ryde to Portsmouth and Southsea, and I did a hover, and she really appreciated watching that, and some others watched it as well. Susan says it's much better to give the food to your neighbours instead of throwing it away. Absolutely, I hate wasting food. It really gets my goat if I have to throw something away because it went mouldy before I used it. I'm much better at I don't throw much food away at all these days. I've got it down to quite a fine art, except if I suddenly go away when I've done a load of shopping. Never mind. It's Alexandra says it's good to give. You often get something in return without expecting. Absolutely, Alexandra. I've found that so many times, and I gift things forward when I can. So when I won the raffle the other day in Iceland, I asked when they rang me up and said I'd won the raffle and I wasn't on the island. They said I had to go and collect it. I said, well, if you can choose a prize for me, but choose something if there's lots of tins of food, because I want to give it to one of our local food pantries. And that's what I did, because I've been so blessed by so many people doing things for me that sometimes it's really nice to pay it forward, which is what I did. And Richard's agreeing with you there. So Debs is saying she's grown courgettes this year. Any recipes, please? Well, one of the recipes that I love doing, and I think my daughter sent it to me, she'd seen it somewhere and I tweaked it, so it's a sort of a bit of a carbonara thing. I call it a carbonara thing, that's my official language for it, but the carbonara thing is so I'm gluten free, so I get gluten free pasta, and it doesn't matter what pasta you use. Sometimes I use is it pen or penny, do they call it? Tagliatelle or macaroni or any of those, and so I boil up the pasta. At the same time, I start the frying pan off, and we use Fry Light, which is the Slimming World, preferred. Not oil. We don't use oil, you see. So that's just Fry Light. That's to spray in the pan. And my daughter and I tend to use the garlic one because you're flavouring your food with the spray that you're spraying the pan with. So we use garlic spray, and then in the pan, originally it was something like bacon. What do I put in it? Bacon, mushrooms, tomatoes, things like that. But I throw courgettes in there as well with those sort of things. I will put the courgettes in and fry them in there. While that's happening, and don't forget the bacon. I forgot the bacon the other day, and of course that's the bit that makes it all the nice taste. So in the recipe, it had said a chicken stock cube, make up some stock, and then at the end when you put and seriously cheese, of course. That's you put the cheese in at the end when you're dishing it up. Put it on because all the food's hot, so it will melt the cheese. It's nice, but it did say in the recipe, put what did it say? Put a chicken stock cube, and make a bit of chicken stock. Well, you don't want much chicken stock in something like a carbonara because it will make it all too sloshy and runny. So I thought, well, why don't I just put the chicken stock in the pasta when it's cooking, because it will flavour the pasta, and then once I drain the pasta, the pasta will have the flavour of the stock, and it did. So that was fine. So now it's easier than messing up another pan, another jug to make the stock in, which is only a teensy bit of stock like that, and it's much easier, of course, to melt a chicken stock cube if it's in a bigger amount of water rather than in a tiny little bit like that. So these are all things I'm just learning. So I would throw my courgettes into all sorts of things, Debs. My daughter and I, when we're doing anything like that, we just see what's left that might look as though it's going off. Before it goes off, quick, get it in the pan. So we do all sorts of things like that. But I will look up some courgette recipes for you if you like, Debs. I'll see what we can find. Anybody else got any recipes? Heather's come in with all the happy birthday to all who are celebrating this week, and she's put a lot of emojis, so I will sing, but I need the name of who I'm singing to. I've forgotten who I'm singing to. Sam, put the name in, and then we can sing to your friend. Oh, Susan's saying if I had contacted Sainsbury's, I would have probably still been okay, as we had similar one day and needed to change the delivery to the next day. And although he still turned up, he took it away, no problem, and it was re-delivered the next day. Okay, yeah, it just might be difficult if you're doing that and that's on the island and the other one's somewhere else. I don't know, but it's worth a try and it's worth knowing, Susan. Thank you for giving me that information. Richard's putting a little goat in there. It wasn't goat's cheese. Does the hover take cars and boats or just passengers? No, the hover is just passengers, Debs. So we have the hover that goes between Ryde, Seafront and Portsmouth and South Sea. And then I go from there on a hover bus to the Portsmouth and South Sea station to do my onward journeys. Or I could go down Ryde Pier. And at the end of Ryde Pier, I could catch the Fast Cat, which takes about 22 minutes from the end of Ryde Pier to Portsmouth. And then that goes straight. You come off the passenger ferry and you go up the ramp, and Portsmouth station is at the top of the ramp, so there's not far to go. If it's raining, that's a great one to do because you don't get wet when you come off the boat and you go straight onto the train. But I actually usually prefer the hover. And then, so that's 22 minutes. Then we have the Red Funnel ferry goes from Southampton to East Cowes, and that takes about 55 minutes. That's a car ferry. And then there's the White Link that goes from Portsmouth to Fishbourne, which is just outside Ryde, and that's a car ferry, and that takes about 35 minutes. And then I'm not quite sure how long, there's one at Yarmouth, which is the other end of the island, and that takes, I think, about 25 minutes. That goes Lymington to Yarmouth. So there's lots of points of entry to the island, but they're all charging a lot of money, and that is one of the major issues that, well, people keep saying that's why tourism is down. Now, those of you who know me for any long length of time will know that there is a tourism story that I bang on about. But tonight I'm not talking about it. I'm pushing it out the way, and we're going to talk about all the other lovely things. And I do believe that, you know, if you market the island right, people will come, even if, you know, the ferry's a bit pricey. So anyway, Susan's saying just foot passengers. So Richard had a pasta bake tonight made with red lentils, gluten-free pasta which is high protein. Excellent. And Alexander liked the sound of that, Richard. Hang on. Alexander doesn't like, she likes to be called Alex. So that's it. And talking, oh no, that's okay. I've seen videos of people adding gravy granules to the veg water, which sounds a good idea whilst the veg is cooking. And then gravy is also sorted too. Oh, and what I did, we had some celery, and I cut celery and put it into the pan with the pasta as well. And my daughter was remembering when they were little, I came across somebody who'd cooked their celery in an oxo gravy. I just saw a recipe somewhere like that, and I did it regularly because my kids loved it. And my daughter remembers so well. She said, "Oh, I did love that." So, you know, we put in this. I use celery a lot, and we put the celery in, and sometimes, you know, I used to have that just, you know, as a vegetable in the gravy. But with this one, of course, if you put it into the with the pasta in the stock cube, you know, it was a chicken stock, this one, but it's just delicious. It's all lovely. So there we go. Sunday, Alex, so was using your Sunday name. Oh, do you have to use posh names on Sunday? Alexandra's laughing. She loves it. Alex is laughing, should I say. It was a reference. Wait a minute. The goat. Hang on. It was a goat to people who punch down, get your goat. Oh, thank you. Richard, I can't get inside your head. Sometimes you have to actually explain it so that I actually know what you mean. Thank you. Yarmouth boat is 40 minutes, you think. Okay, I haven't been on the Yarmouth route for a long time, Susan. I can't remember. But thank you. Happy birthday this week, as your niece's stepchildren twins' birthday the 23rd. They will be 10. One is in young love with your step granddaughter, who has some Isle of Wight family. Oh, right, okay. Lots of comments coming in. Richard's saying the 1938 trains, similar to what used to be on the Island Line, are running later this summer on the Underground in London. Oh, right, the old trains. Well, we've got new trains on the island now. We've got brand new Island Line trains. We used to have the old Underground trains on the island, and some of them were pretty ropey. But we've recently been upgraded, and we have brand new trains on the Island Line, which is wonderful. Celery is lovely cooked. Yes, do you know what? I think I almost prefer it cooked to raw. Hubby dug up, this is Deb's. Hubby dug up some celery this week, but it's Dad's day, not telling, but it's his Dad's day, not telling him off. No, so Dad's day, we need to be talking about that, don't we? But just before we do that, I'm going to just show you my knitting and tell you what knitting projects we're on now. Richard saying, especially with garlic, even more so the delicious ones sold at the garlic farm when you visit. Yes, so we have a garlic farm here, folks, and Richard's been to our garlic farm, and you can buy all sorts of garlic things. And they have a garlic festival as well, where you can get garlic ice cream and garlic this and garlic that and garlic. Not everything at the garlic festival is garlic. We have lots of other stalls, charity stalls, all sorts of entertainment and things as well. But it's a brilliant weekend. If you can ever be on the Isle of Wight during the garlic festival, it's well worth it. So knitting. Now, I think I showed you before this lovely cardigan that I am making. Whoops. Hang on, let me just. So it's this lovely assorted ball of wool, but you will see that it's got lots of wool wound around it, and I'll tell you why. Shenanigans. Oh no, not shenanigans with Lynn's knitting. So this is a cardigan. This is a cardigan I am knitting, and it gets its pattern from the stripes in the ball. Somebody, my daughter's sister-in-law was here today, and she said, "Oh, Lynn, you're so clever with all those stripes." Now I said, "No, I'm not. I just do plain knitting, and the ball is striped, and the ball is what makes the pattern. It just is as it comes out, like that." And so, so I was knitting away, and then I noticed that a stitch, something had happened with a stitch a bit further down. Now, usually I don't have to undo it, because I've knitted long enough to know that if a stitch further down needs sorting out, I can drop the stitch down and then get a crochet hook, sort out the problem, and then hook all the stitches back up one at a time and get it back on the needle without having to undo all the knitting. Well, I did that. I sorted out the problem, but then I saw another little bit of a problem. And my gran always used to say it would do a blind man good to see it. But if I'm making something and I notice there's a little problem, I prefer, especially if I'm making it for somebody else, I prefer to actually try and correct it. So there was a bit of a problem, and it was over here, right? And the stitches weren't just tightly enough. They just seemed to be a bit looser in one little place than everywhere else. So I thought, oh, that's fine. I'll just drop the stitch all the way down. It had to go down 16 rows because that's where the mistake was. It wasn't a mistake. It was just not tight knitting. Anyway, I dropped it down 16 rows. Borrowed a crochet hook from the grandchildren, which I'd given them crochet hooks, so I knew they had crochet hooks. So they produced the crochet hooks. But when I got down there and started to hook it through, there was a big loop of wool appeared. Look, I don't know how that happened. It's got a big loopy bit. I don't know if you can see it there. I think you probably can, just about. And there was too much wool in the space. And no matter how hard I tried, I could not make it look good. So I have been undoing 16 rows of knitting. Now, I haven't undone it all. What I could do is take the needles out and pull the wool quickly like that. But then I've got to pick up and get back on the needles more than 200 stitches, which could take me forever and a day. So I decided that to unpick it one stitch at a time, at least I would keep the stitches on the needle and unpick it until that point. So I've got a little bit more unpicking. I've got to do, I sat in the garden and unpicked some. So I've got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 or 6 rows. And then I can start knitting it up again. You know, so I've unpicked 10 rows. So I will get back to there, sort it out, and then carry on and, you know, just knit and knit till it's done. So that's that knitting. And that's why this is like this, because I've been undoing my project and then winding it back round the ball of wool. So that's why the wool looks like that. So hopefully I will get that sorted and back on track. So Susan's saying, what's the ball of wool called, please? And was it from Helen? Right, hang on. I will go and get because the band, there's no band on that ball, but I needed 3 balls of wool, and the bands are over there. So speak amongst yourself for a minute. And yes, it was from Helen. And let me go and get it. Wait a minute. Whoops, I've got a bit stuck in the chair. A little bit of exercise. Oh, dear, oh dear. Here we go. Whoops, get my foot in. And I keep this project in this lovely knitting bag. My son saw this in a charity shop and he thought it looked so like me. He bought it for me for a present. And of course, it actually looks quite like the wool itself, doesn't it? Wait a minute. So that's what a ball looks like when you buy it. A bit like the bag it's in, isn't it? Might lose it, camouflage it. So anyway, let's put that over there. So it is called, it's King Cole wool, and Helen sells all her wool at good prices. So it's Tropical Beaches double knitting, and it's Lara Beach. This one is called Lara Beach. That's the colour of it, and it's a 200-gram ball. So I had 3 balls to make the cardigan. I'll show you the pattern. I will show you the pattern, except the pattern's not in that bag. I've got to go and get the pattern now because the pattern's in the other bag, I think. Is it? Oh, I don't know. Let's have a look. Whoops, a daisy. No, folks, I'm sorry. I am sorry, the pattern is not there. I might well have left the pattern downstairs. Sorry, folks. So I can't show you. Did I leave it now? It's not in the bag. I don't know where it is. It must be. I had it earlier to show my daughter's sister-in-law, and so I think it must be downstairs, and I'm not going downstairs. Have I done something special today, Lynn? I'm only with my daughter, but I am going to talk about memories of my dad because it's Father's Day, but I haven't quite got there yet. So, oh, hang on, wait a minute. What's happening here? So that's what the wall. Yes. So Tropical Beaches, it's called, and she has it in all sorts of different colorways. So there'll be different color patterns. But this one was Lara Beach. Okay, Lara Beach. So that was good. Right. Usually the word. Oops, hang on. Oh, hang on. Whoops. Sorry, I do struggle on this little screen. Richard's saying usually the Wurzels play at the Garlic Festival near the famous pub, the Fighting Cocks, on the 3rd weekend in August. Absolutely, Richard. So if I am around, I will go to the Garlic Festival and I will live stream from there probably. We will see what happens. I don't know where I'm going to be. And I think Susan and Debs have sorted each other out. Hang on. Right. Yes, I saw Susan and Debs are going to sort out their knitting, the sending and the receiving of the smoothie hats. Thank you. Right. Let's have a look. What patience I have. Well, do you know what? That once upon a time I would have been so frustrated that I had to unpick that. But you know, I couldn't send that garment out to somebody knowing that there was a little issue there. She might never have seen it. You know, as my grand said, it's a do a blind man good to see it, but I knew it was there. I wanted it to be better than that. So yes, I was happy to unpick it. I was sitting in my daughter's garden and looking at the lovely plants that we. So some of you, did you see we went for plant therapy on Friday? I decided that I wanted an instant part of my daughter and her family. They've been redoing their front garden because it was a bit of a mess, and when we were here for the twins' birthday a few weeks ago, all members of the family pitched in. We had a digger there. I didn't do the gardening. I watched and took photographs, but they had a digger and they were digging and moving soil, and some of the soil went into the back garden and it went into the bottom, and now there's a pond above the area where some of the soil went in. Oh, they've done amazing things between them. And but there was this area in her front garden, and she's got a lovely big front garden. There is a bench, and I love sitting on that bench. But it's even nicer to sit on the bench if there's a flower bed with lots of flowers in. And so they'd created this lovely flower bed, but it was just brown soil. So I decided that I would take my daughter on plant therapy on Friday. So I took her out and we bought a whole pile of plants. It was basically an instant garden. And if you looked at my Facebook page, some of you saw us with all the plants on the trolley. And we bought plants, not all tiny plants, some plants that made instant, an instant garden really. Some of them were small, but other ones, there was a nice sunflower. But today the sunflower was growing like this. And you're not supposed to water in when it's sunny, but she saw this going like this, and so she just put some water around right at the bottom of the plant, and the plant revived. So it was all right. Somebody saw the picture I took of us in the car with all the plants around us, and my daughter and I had our heads together a bit like that, and the sunflower was in the middle. It was Jackie Hennessy. And she said, "Oh, Bill and Ben." So I don't know if who remembers Bill and Ben, the flower pot men, but they had a little weed who used to be between them. Well, it wasn't a little weed; it was a lovely sunflower, but it looked a bit like the little weed of the story. So that was a memory here. Let's have a look. Right, okay. So Richard's saying, as poet William Blake said, it is in the minute particulars that life is woven. Some of it like taking care of pennies that wait a minute. Some of like taking care of the pennies and take care of the pennies, and the pounds take care of themselves. That's what he's trying to say. I'm fortunate way my brain wired. I have hyper focus. Well done you. I don't. Right, so Debs is saying, have knitters here seen the YouTube nimble needles? He's fab. I learned so much. No, I shall look at that. Deb, send me a message in Messenger. Just pop nimble needles over there, and then I will have a look afterwards and see. Susan saying, thanks Lynn. We're going to Helen at some point this week, as we've bought some of the sale walls, and so just need to go and collect them. Well, actually that's interesting, Susan, because the person who wanted to bring me smoothie hats on Tuesday at the library, I sent her a message, and I don't know if she's replied to it yet because I've been on broadcast. And I said, no, I'm not going to be at the library. I wonder if she could drop the hats off at Helen. I hadn't asked Helen if it was okay, but she wanted to drop her smoothie hats at Helen's. Now, if that is so, and she's dropped her smoothie hats at Helen's, and you're going to Helen's, would you be kind enough to scoop up those smoothie hats as well and take them with you? And again, I would need to know, I want to know how many there are, but you might not, the person herself might count them for me. We can make sure they get counted. But that would be brilliant if you could do that, Susan. So Richard's saying, as technically you're on the autistic spectrum with low support needs, formerly referred as high functioning. Reconnect, very funny Australian lady comedian on social media called My Favourite Joe. All right, so you like that? Yeah, okay. She loves purple like I do. Richard has a garden bench that handmade by one of our little Busters groups and has painted roses on it like traditional canal art. Oh, that sounds nice. Alex is saying, have I seen the fabulous poppy field near Carisbrooke Castle. Alex, I've seen all the wonderful pictures of the poppy field. I didn't know exactly where it was, but you know, and I'm on the mainland at the moment. But it's been lovely to see this wonderful field of poppies. I did notice that the people had put up and said, please stay on the path, don't walk across the field, because of course it's a habitat for lots of the insects and they don't want it disturbed. But who would walk? I suppose some people do walk across a poppy field. Anyway, I just realised we haven't sung happy birthday. I'm going to sing happy birthday to Sam's friend. I don't know what her name is, but I'm just going to sing to Sam's friend before I forget altogether, because Heather put up the happy birthday bits. I've got the let's party stars on, so let's do that. Are you ready, folks? Happy birthday to you. And this is anybody else who's got a birthday as well. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sam's friend. And anybody who's got a birthday this week, happy birthday to you. Hope you all have a wonderful time. Right. Susan's saying yes, no worries. She can I can let Susan know when the hats are dropped at Helen's. That's brilliant, because I won't have time to get those hats and get them to I just realised I'm not going to have time to get the hats from Helen and get them over to Age UK Isle of Wight. So if you could help, that would be amazing. Thank you. Right, a swig of my coffee, and then I'm going to talk about my daddy because it's Father's Day, but it's even more poignant for me today, June the 15th. What a lovely cup of coffee. So, in my head, this week and last week, something was nagging away at me about June the 15th. You know, when you get that, something about June the 15th. And I didn't remember what it was. And I suddenly remembered yesterday what it was. It was the day my father passed. So he passed in the we got a call at about 10 to 6 in the morning. I was living with my mum and dad, and my dad had been taken into hospital. And on that Tuesday, it was a Tuesday, and on that Tuesday morning, the phone rang at 10 to 6. I was in bed, and I heard the phone go, and I knew what the phone call was going to be. My dad had led a very wonderful life, and he was 89, so he'd had a good innings, as they say, but he was ill, and I think we knew that probably he might not come home from hospital. And you know, it's obviously still sad when it happens, but you know, because he led such a wonderful life, it wasn't, we made it more into an occasion of remembrance and happy memories rather than doom and gloom. But I remember that call coming, and you know, I heard the phone go, and I heard my mum answer the phone, and so I went and stood by my mum, you know, to support my mum while she got that call. And so it was not Father's Day, it was before Father's Day. So it was the Tuesday, so that was the Tuesday before Father's Day. So that was the 15th. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it would be 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. It would have been the 20th would be Father's Day that year. And I think I showed you the other day, and I can't show you now because I'm not at home, but in my room where I broadcast often to you, I have a Father's Day card and a Father's Day plaque to go on the wall that I bought that year for my dad. But somehow when I bought them, I was pretty sure that I wasn't going to get to send them to him. And I was right, because he passed on the 15th of June. But I have kept them. And they have made me smile so many times, because they're matching, so they're nice. They're blues, bright blues and nice colours, and there's a bit of shiny on them. And the plaque says... it says something that sort of thing. It says, I'm your daughter, I'm your daughter, or something like that. I'm your daughter. I smile because there's nothing you can do about it, or something like that. And it makes me smile every time that I see it. And it hangs on the, hangs up in my craft room. And the Father's Day card I bought him was a big one like that, and it sits proudly there, just reminding me of my dad, but that I didn't get to give it to him. But you know, I was reading today. I follow somebody on LinkedIn whose son took his own life. You know, was a suicide victim, and I follow this guy. I mean, my own brother took his life 4 years ago. So I have a little bit of, I want to learn all these things, and this chap, he calls his charity the Jordan Legacy. His son was called Jordan, and he now has become a speaker, and he goes and he talks and he's raising awareness about suicide and suicide prevention, because a lot of suicides can be preventable. No, I don't think all can, but I, you know, from reading about, there are a lot of things, and you know, raising awareness and speaking out to people and that sort of thing. I mean, I just enjoy watching it. And he was talking today, because it was Father's Day, his post on LinkedIn was about a card, a Father's Day card that his son had sent him. I think his suicide was in the December, was later in the year, but he'd kept that card, not knowing what the future was going to hold. But he so values that card now. And you know, like I value the cards, even though I didn't send them to my dad, the intention was to give them to my dad. But you know, it's very precious to me. And you know, I'm the daughter, and it was the dad who's not here. But in that case, it was the dad. And do you know what? I have cards from, so many of the cards from my children and from my grandchildren. I don't throw cards away, even the little ones that they, you know, they drew themselves. I mean, they're even more precious, the ones they drew themselves. And I just can't bring myself to throw them away. I just love them so much. In fact, I feel like getting them out and making a big display on my wall. I've got a stair lift now, and so instead of walking down the stairs that way, I sit on my stairs and I go down the side. So I have this wonderful big wall, and I'm looking at the wall as I go down, and I think that is a canvas waiting to be decorated. So I'm trying to make up my mind whether to put photographs up there, or whether to put all their greetings cards and the pictures and things they've done me. You know, and I come across, you know, lots of these little things when I'm going through the drawers, and I think, you know, it might have just a few bits stuck on like that randomly, but they are so precious to me, and they make me smile every time. So I'm not quite sure, you know, what I'm going to do. I need to be home first to do it. But I get home when I get home. It doesn't matter. But I think I want to be home, and if it works for the family, then I want to be home for the Armed Forces Day on the island. Even if I come back a few days later, it doesn't matter. So there we go. Let's have a look. Alexander put a lot of smiley faces with streamers for the birthday girl. So Richard's saying that included his friend Geraldine on Friday, her birthday on Friday. Many thanks, Lynn. She's known as Jerry and has a brother Tom, like Tom and Jerry cartoon. Oh, wonderful. Excellent. We keep, Susan says she keeps most of the greetings cards as well. Not sure what to do with yours either. Maybe scrapbooking. Yes, maybe a scrapbook. I think if I put them in a scrapbook, I wouldn't look at them. I think I want to get them out and put them on the wall. You know, my walls haven't been painted in years. So rather than actually get, you know, a paint job done, why don't I just do a craft job up there and put all those wonderful things that I can see every time I go up and down my stairs. Just amazing. So that's what I think I'm going to do there. But, you know, my dad valued all those things that we made, all those funny little things that we made at school for Mother's Day and Father's Day. They were so precious. I mean, you know, I think I've got a little ghost. A little ghost. He's not the most beautiful ghost, but one of my children made it for me. I'm not quite sure whether it's a Mother's Day present, but that's the child who's turning 50 this year, and I just don't know. I can't bring myself to get rid of it. It was too precious, you know. I don't think giving me a diamond would be more precious than this little ghost that's maybe not as beautiful as, you know, the diamond might be. it's the things that go into it. It's what the children put into it. It's amazing. I remember actually a memory of my dad. When we were at school, I remember my sister made for Dad. My sister's 2 years older than me, and she made for Dad. It was a circular thing. We used to have spills. Does anybody remember what spills are? And I don't mean a spill, you know, where you spill something. A spill was a little. It was a. It was like. How do I describe it? Like a straw, but a flat straw. You know, but it was sort of made out of a little bit of woody material, a little bit of wood, flat wood, very flat and very thin, and you would light it to light a candle or to light something. You could light it, light the end of the spill to light the candle. And I remember my sister made a container for the spills. So right, I've got a tin here. But it would have been like this, but she'd made it as you know, with cardboard and paper and all decorated, and it had these spills in it. Obviously she'd made it at school with help from, you know, from the teachers, and my dad absolutely loved it. I remember him raving about it. Just the most simple of things, but you know, it really, you know, it just warms the cockles of our heart. So hang on, wait a minute. Susan's got a comment there. Richard's got a comment. Right, Richard's saying his mum died on Bastille Day, the 14th of July, aged 74, after 6 extra years by fine treatment of the QE cancer unit. Excellent. They stopped the tumour spreading, as was not able to be operated on, and had cervical and spinal cord. But isn't it brilliant what they can do? And all the time, medicine is advancing, and you know, people are living longer, and they are managing to get a lot of these things that would have killed people a long time ago and prolonging their life. So that's something what the medical people can do. Susan's saying that I could put, oh, hang on, I could put the pictures and the cards together on my wall, and then you could put the pictures of who sent the cards to you. Yes, absolutely. Do some sort of collage. The wall is very big, except I'm not sure that I can actually get the pictures up there. So I'm actually probably going to have to, oh, that's something I can get the Time Bank people to do, to come and help me make my collage on the wall. Because, as I say, the walls are not very beautiful. They need painting, but why paint them if I can cover them up with all these beautiful things? Save myself some money, couldn't I? And the Time Bank people will come and help me. So that's a good idea. I will do that. Debs is saying her father-in-law died on Father's Day many years ago. Tried to do the garden on a baking hot day on his own. He wasn't well, bless. Mum-in-law a few years and a week later. My dad had his heavenly 100th birthday in May. Excellent. So, you know, and all happy memories. I expect lots of happy memories, Deb, for you. Funnily enough, not funnily enough, I don't think funny is the word. Coincidentally, my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, he passed on June the 15th, 13 years ago. So my dad passed 15 years ago, and 2 years to the day later, my brother-in-law, who had motor neurone disease, one of the worst, that's an awful, awful disease, and he passed with motor neurone disease, and on the same day. I mean, I've told you many times before that our family do things on the anniversaries of other dates, you know. So the twins had their birthday recently, their 18th birthday, but they were born on my mum and dad's 62nd wedding anniversary. And so a memory there was that my dad, he wanted a big celebration. Maybe he knew that it was going to be his last wedding anniversary. I don't know. But he kept on about wanting this big celebration of their 62nd wedding. 62 is not really, it's significant in that it's a long time, but usually it's the ones with the 0 or the 5 on that are the more, you know, celebrating in a way. I don't know. I think you know what I mean. Anyway, he kept on about everybody must put the date in their diary. However, of course, so wait a minute. They were born on the 60s. No, I'm getting this wrong. That was sorry. Forget what I said. So it wasn't that anniversary when the twins were born. It was prior to the twins. It was 2006. So it would have been their 61st wedding anniversary. Mum and Dad's 61st wedding anniversary. And so the twins were not yet a twinkle in their father's eye. But 2006 was the year my daughter married my son-in-law. But of course, all the eyes were focused on the wedding, because the wedding was in January, and that's when I lost my weight that time for that wedding. And so all the talk before that was wedding, wedding, wedding. My dad did not want people to forget his wedding anniversary. So that's right. So he, so yeah, we talk. Sorry, we lost a bit of connection there. I'm not quite sure where I was. Wait a minute. So let's just move the comments. Right. Okay. Oh, Richard's talking about the spills. Some people call them tapers. Yes, I know. Yes, I've heard that phrase too, Richard. Tapers or spills. Right. So. Right. Okay. So. What was I just saying? That's right. I was getting myself a bit muddled up there. So. It was 2006. So it was before Christmas. My dad was saying, make sure you've all got their birthday was his wedding anniversary was the 18th of May, and he said to everybody, I want you to make sure that you put that down in our in the put that down in your diaries. I want you to be there. So he kept wanting to make sure everybody had the date in their diary for the wedding anniversary, because he didn't want anybody to forget, because all the talk was about the wedding. But anyway, we did have a wonderful anniversary, wedding anniversary for Mum and Dad. We had a lot of people there. We had a wonderful wedding for my daughter as well. So we got that, I say he got that out the way. I don't mean we got it out the way, but that came past, and then all focus on the wedding anniversary, and it was a wonderful celebration as well. And so I think that must have been the 61st wedding anniversary, and then my dad knew the twins had been born. In fact, I think the first three of my children, my grandchildren were born. So there were the twins, and then there was another one came 3 years later. So I'm thinking, muddling myself up with the history, but anyway, he did, but that's right. So the twins were born on the wedding anniversary. So I think it must have been the 62nd. I'm a bit confused about how many years it was. Please forgive me. And moving swiftly on. Wait a minute. Let's see. Susan says it's her aunt and uncle's 63rd wedding anniversary tomorrow. I hope they have a wonderful time. Let's celebrate. Look, or let's party. It says on my hat. That's it. So Richard's parents made its 52nd wedding anniversary, June the 6th, 2011, and went away to Morecambe long weekend for 50th anniversary, including lovely pictures. Then with Eric's statue. Eric Morecambe, I presume you mean. Debs has just realised her niece and nephew, first year without their dad on Father's Day. My brother-in-law passed away in September on his 81st birthday. Now, sorry to hear that. But memories of my dad, so many memories of my dad, and so with my dad's passing, it was not unexpected. Obviously, you're sad in the moment, but we just lived on the memories. And I've talked to you so often about, my dad. I was very, very close to my dad, as you might be able to tell. I don't have pictures of him here. Sorry, at home there would be a picture of him sitting up behind me, and I think I put a picture
Oh, I don't know if I put it on my face. Oh, I put it on the when I put up about tonight's live stream. I did put a picture of him, but you know, he was a wonderful man. And I mean, I know lots of people say that about their dad, but you know, he did so much good for so many people. And I think it's where I get the you know, my willingness to want to do stuff for charity, you know, charity, you know, charity help things. It was because my dad set that as an example, and you know, he did lots of things. He was a civil servant through most of his life, and then in later years, he and my mum bought a school because he mum wanted to buy a school, and he made sure it happened. He idolised my mum, and he did so much to make things happen that she liked, and so they bought a school. And then in their retirement, they bought a second school, like you do. You know, mad, crazy family that we come from. But things like that. But my dad encouraged me on so many different things. My dad took me in hand. I mean, I've told you before, I don't like, I don't read for pleasure. I can read perfectly well. I can pick this book up and read you everything out of this recipe book. I can read books, but you give me a book that's all. I like pictures. I'm a visual learner, and if you give me a book that's got text all the way down, oh, I just go like that. So on my phone now, I've got something set up on my phone that will read pages of text to me. It just makes me go like that. I can read it. If you asked me to read it, I could read it to you, and I wouldn't probably stumble over. Oh, I might stumble over a word if I hadn't seen a word before and it was a complicated one. But I don't tend to, you know, to do that. I love reading children's stories to children or to grown-ups, as I did in COVID for some of you. But I think what it was, I was late to learn at school. I obviously didn't get as much input as perhaps I might have needed at school, and so I was a late reader. But I read because my dad gave me the time and attention. That's how I learnt to read. He spent hours and hours and hours of his time helping me and coaxing me and teaching me to learn to read. He taught me so many things through the years, but learning to read was the early one. And you know, so that's why I can read, because my dad spent hours and hours with me. But I don't read for pleasure. But I will sit and happily listen to, um, you know, a book online. Somebody reading a book to me. I love hearing all sorts of things. So now we have the modern technology where I can sit and listen to the life, somebody's autobiography or biography, but I can knit at the same time. I can double whammy my time. You know, so I would be so relaxed if I was sitting knitting and I had a podcast playing or somebody's life story playing. That's how I like to consume. And the thing is, now we have the ability to do all that in a way that works for everybody. It's just amazing, isn't it? So let's have a look. Um, yes, so my dad, he helped me with that when we were youngsters. I mean, and actually, we grew up in a very Christian family, and we went to church every week. We went to Sunday school. Mum and Dad took us to church. Dad became a local preacher in his later years. Um, we would sit the scripture exam through the school, encouraged by Dad. You know, in our younger years, we were encouraged through the Sunday school to do our first bit of fundraising for charity. So we would have little pictures of books. They called them Sunny Smiles. They were little pictures of children from all over the world with smiley faces, and we sold these pictures. You know, it was all an official thing, and we would go around the church and sell pictures of smiles to people for fundraising, um, for the Sunny Smiles charity, whatever it was. And you know, he started to instill that sort of community spirit into us, and we did lots and lots of things like that. That Mum and Dad encouraged me when I wanted to do a fundraising fete. We had a big house and a big garden, and I wanted to run a garden party in the garden when I was quite young. And I don't know how much my siblings wanted to do it, but I know that it was my thing. I don't mean that over and above them. I think it was one of those things, when you're determined to do something and you want to just get it done. I'm not quite sure how keen they were on doing it, but I did garden parties and encouraged by mum and dad. That was amazing. And we raised quite a lot of money. I raised money for War on Want, which was, I don't know if that's still a charity going now, but that was for people overseas. And we had all that instilled into us, good works, for other people. And I just loved doing it. So of course, even to this day, I love doing my charity work, whether it's for here at home or whether it's for things abroad. At the moment, we're fighting to keep our hospice going because they've taken 1.4 million out of our funding for our hospice. Well, the contract came to an end, but there was no discussion. Suddenly the hospice were presented with, well, you're not getting this 1.4 million anymore, and I think that was very hurtful not to at least have a discussion about it. So there is uproar on the island, and there are lots of people fighting the corner of our hospice because money was taken away from us, but money was being given to other hospices. So it was like, we'll take it away from you and we'll give it to them over here. And the bad thing I see about that is, it's not good, because so much of our money is for our hospice is raised by the community. And what made me quite cross was that they presented that news just after 9,000 people had done Walk the White, which is a yearly huge fundraiser for the Mountbatten Hospice on the island. So all those people had done it, and then they just snuck in, oh, well, we're taking 1.4 million funding away from you. I wonder how all those people who've done all that, I mean, those people will still be glad that they walked the white, but, instead of, it being great and added to the money, it was becoming it's becoming the money that's having to replace some money that was being taken away. So that's not good. Let me just go back and see the comments. So one of Richard's friends has lost her dad this year, and whoops, hang on, whoa. Richard learned to read at 3 from his granddad reading text from cartoons in Evening Mail. My dad, that's just reminded me, my dad learned to read at about 3, and he was reading things on the bus when he was 3, signs that were up on the bus. And I think there was one that said, do not spit, things like that. And he's reading these things. But it was really funny because he was reading them, but I think my gran was trying to get him a free fare on the bus because they were very poor. My dad's family were very poor. His dad was a tailor who didn't earn a lot of money, and so there was my mum trying to pretend. I don't know what age you got free bus, but she was sort of saying he was this age, and he was then reading like a 5-year-old. And reading all this, so that was a funny story he told me about that. But he has quite a lot of funny stories he told us over the years. He would also pick up on phrases from some of the TV shows and things, and I've told you, one or two of those phrases, like now I've forgotten. There was one from Babu the Bear. I've forgotten that one. Oh dear. Not helpful, is it? There's another one. What was I going to say? Oh yes, Lean Forward Master Spy is one of the really fabulous ones. That was just one of these animated stories. Like I'm getting myself into such a mess here because I can't remember what I'm trying to tell you because I'm very tired. But it was a children's TV program, and Master Spy was this big, very large gentleman. And you see, you shouldn't do that anymore. That's body shaming. But it was only a cartoon character, and so Master Spy was huge, and his sidekick was only just a little guy at the side. But they were the baddies, and somehow something had picked their car up when it was chasing the goodies, and picked it up and put it on a church spire. This is children's stuff, remember? And so the car was on the top of the church spire, and of course, well, in 1 minute it would turn this way, and then the sidekick would say, "Lean backward, Master Spy," and so then it would go this way when they leant backwards, and then he'd say, "Lean forward, Master Spy." I can't remember much about the rest of the program at all. I just remember my dad, keep going over that. So please listen to Peter Williams' "Are You Listening?", a tribute to his dad. Debs, can you drop it in the messenger again, and I will go and look at it. He wrote the song after having his own children and recognised all the wise things his dad had told him. Pete is an international rock star from Dex's Midnight Runners and now has his own band. Thanks, Debs. I will go and have a look at that. Hello, Hazel. Hazel coming in there from Australia. How nice to see you in the broadcast. So we've been talking about all sorts of things, and now we're talking about memories of my dad, Hazel. And just to recap for you, because you've just come in now, today is in the UK, it's Father's Day, and it's the 15th of June, 2025. And it's the anniversary of the day my dad passed. So when my dad passed, it was a Tuesday, and Father's Day was on the following Sunday, the 20th. So, because it's Father's Day and it was also the anniversary, I decided to come in with a lot of my memories about my dad. But I spent like 2 hours talking about everything else until we got to trying to tell the stories of my dad, and then I'm becoming a bit forgetful. But no, so many stories. One of the things I remember about my dad, and I know I've told you some of these stories before, when the first, not the first house I lived in, we lived in a small house in Greenford when Mum had three of us, we were home births. There were four of us, but the first three of us were all home births. The fourth one would have been a home birth, but there were complications and my mum got whisked into hospital. Otherwise she would have lost the baby, and but she didn't, fortunately. But the first three of us were closer together, and then there was a bigger gap between my first brother and my second brother. So there were three of us in a small house in Greenford. And then when the first brother came along, when he was 2, I think 2, was he 2? No, he wasn't. When he came along, and I was 2. That's right, because I'm 2 years older than him. When I was 2, we moved to a house in Ealing, what they used to call Queen of the Suburbs, and we lived in Ealing, and it was a very big house. My mum and dad had really scraped every possible penny they could get together, and they managed to buy this big house. We were not rich by any manner of means, but that, they just managed. My dad was always very canny and cautious with how he did things, and they bought this 15-room house in Ealing. And I've forgotten where I was going with this story. Why was I starting to tell you about our lovely big house? I can't remember. What I was going to say. It might come back to me in a minute. So let me talk about some more memories of my dad. I'm just trying to think. Oh, I know when we had that house, that my dad, he was not a painter and a decorator, and that was a huge house to paint and decorate. But what he did have, he had different skills. And so he would go and invigilate, and sit in on and invigilate exams and get paid for that, because that was what he could do. And then he paid the painter and decorator to come and paint the house and decorate the house. But I've forgotten why I was going down that route. Oh, I know yes, I know. One of my vivid memories of that house, early memories, the kitchen was it was what you call, I think, a bit of a sage green. Everything in those days, a lot of things were painted, perhaps they didn't have many colours, and loads of things were painted sage green. And in the kitchen, we had like an Aga, I think, and there was there was a mantelpiece, a big, and it was, I can remember it painted green, all this was green, and it was big and high up. I was only little, and we caught chicken pox. You know, I think all three of us had chicken pox at the same time. Not quite sure whether we all had chicken pox at the same time, but anyway, I know my sister and I had chicken pox at the same time. And of course, one of the things for curing, you know, that you do with chicken pox, or did then, I don't know if they still do it, was put on lanolin cream to ease the itching, because with chicken pox they're quite big spots, aren't they? So hang on. And so I can remember Dad, he was reading us a sooty book. I can remember the sooty book, and I could remember that we had a power cut at the same time. So Dad was trying to read us our bedtime story, and so we had the power cut. So we had candlesticks, with, you know, candles up on this mantelpiece that was very high up. You know, well, I suppose I was only little, so it perhaps wasn't that high up, but and I can remember the candlesticks up there, and Dad reading Sooty by candlelight, and then he had to put the lanolin cream on us, and so I can remember him putting the lanolin cream on us by candlelight. Isn't it funny how your memory picks out certain things to remember? I can't remember anything else about that time, much about that time, but I remember Dad doing that. And that was, you know, that was one of the happy memories I had of Dad, you know, being at home. He was a very hands-on daddy, and really helped. He helped a lot in later years because, you know, we at school didn't always grasp everything. Maybe it was just me. Maybe the others did grasp it better. No, I don't think they did, because I remember him really helping my sister through her GCSE religious studies, or whatever they called it in those days. But so he would help us a lot with our schoolwork, and help us to understand it where the teachers might not quite have got the information across. He would be painstaking in how he helped us to remember the facts that we needed to remember for the different subjects. And I mean, I remember when he was teaching my sister, she had to do her religious whatever it was. Hang on. Sorry, let's just chamomile. Is that what I said? I don't know. Chamomile lotion. Yes, it was chamomile lotion for anti-itching. Excellent. Hang on. So so my sister was doing, no, I think she was doing A-level religious studies, and it involved, I don't know much about it, but I can remember my dad going around the house collecting up our teddy bears and all our toys and using them as visual aids to help my sister remember. So there were certain armies were doing very, I wasn't learning this subject, so and I probably learned some of it, but I've forgotten it now. But I can remember he had all the teddies. So there would be a little army of teddies over here, and there were an army of other toys over here. And so he used our toys as visual aids to help us learn, you know, in a more visual way. I'm definitely a visual learner, and I learn things better, you know, if they're pictorial. Or I learn from, you know, YouTube videos and things like that these days. Right, so let's just see. So Richard says it was supercar with Mike Mercury car that could fly and go underwater. Puppets are after Four Feather Falls. Yes, I remember Four Feather Falls. Jerry Anderson's early serial. Oh wait, but Richard's giving me loads of information I've missed. So my dad walked the walk with charity work. He certainly did. Still a charity. Oh, that's still a charity. Thank you. War on Want, that must be. Sadly, due to merger with Hampshire, which will be the same with the mayor. Richard is now referring to the fact that about our hospice losing. Yes, but why? Why should they take our money off us and give it to somebody else? But you know, especially since all our cancer patients already have to go across the water to get their treatment, And now if they're going to, do something about it, make our hospice very difficult to run, that, when you live on an island, it's even more tricky than living anywhere else. I know it's tricky everywhere, but it's even more tricky when you live on an island. Right, okay. So Rich has been filling in all the information about the programs I was talking about. Chamomile lotion for anti-itching, says Debs. Right, 20th this Friday, your friend Geraldine's birthday anniversary of the 21st. Right, he's not. Oh, it's an anniversary of her 21st, so it must be a multiple of 21. But he's a gentleman and he doesn't disclose a lady's age, especially one with auburn hair, but doesn't have a fiery temper. That's just as well. Excellent. Hazel's saying religious instruction. That's right. They've called it all sorts of different things from time to time. So that's why I've got confused, Hazel. Or maybe I just forget. Supercar. The difference between your generation and his, 4 years older. You never saw it and there were no repeats. Oh, I don't know about that. I suppose it might be somewhere on the internet. You might be able to find it. I don't know. But there were so many wonderful things like that. So that was... I know the other one phrase my dad said, what a wonderful time we are having, Babu. And that was from... I've forgotten. That was Yogi Bear, I think. Yogi Bear in Jellicoe Park. No. What? Where did Yogi Bear live? Now I've forgotten. I think I'm having a memory lapse. Oh, never mind. But I am having some memories, and one of the memories I have is of my dad on my wedding day, and or before. No, let's go back to before my wedding. We decided that my wedding was going to be at our house. So I told you that I grew up in a big house in Ealing, but when I was 15, we moved from that house to another house that was still fairly big, but this other house was not as big, but it was nice, and we decided that we could have my wedding reception. Well, I think this was Mum's idea, that we could have the wedding reception at home, and I thought that was really nice. And so we did it with diabolical cunning, because we wanted a sit down meal, and we worked out that if we had a big room that was like a lounge, it was a playroom at one stage, but it was a lounge, and at the end of it had a conservatory, and then you go through and there was a big hall, and then opposite there was another big room. So we worked out, my dad helped us with all this, that we could have the top table in the conservatory, and then people could see us on the top table there, and the lounge was all fitted out. I think my dad helped us do it on squared, because we didn't have the computers then, so we did it all on squared paper to work out how many people we could get in at the wedding. So little bits of paper and little measurements and little things like that. And then of course, if we took the door off of that room, then so the most, I think the grown-ups were more in this room, and then the top table, and then the front room was set up with tables for the children, because we had children at our wedding, various family members and that. So we had the children in the front room. I think we had one or two suitable adults with them, but they could also see through. So if we take the doors off, you can actually see, the doors don't get in the way, and everybody could see through. It was a bit of a squeeze, but we had a sit down for about 89 people. Susan's saying, yes, Yogi Bear was Yellowstone Park. So, thank you, that's right, it was. And Richard's saying, Battle of Waterloo as taught by the Teddies. Absolutely, it was just amazing thing. It was some of the religious armies. And I don't remember, that's all I remember. I know there was Nasty Nestorius. One of the teddy bears had to become Nasty Nestorius. I'm not sure that a teddy bear should be a Nasty Nestorius, do you? But we've always joked about it ever, since then. And I do remember a conversation about these armies coming and taking over. And in the text, it said something like, everywhere his foot trod would become part of his territory. So we were imagining, just because we were pickly children, we were imagining, look, that his foot stood there, so that bit was part of the land, and that bit, you know, we were taking it literally to everywhere his foot trod. So if his foot didn't stand on that bit, then he couldn't have that bit of land. But I remember it became a fun way to learn. My dad was the best teacher I ever had. You know, because he got us through exams. I mean, I took 3 attempts at my GCE maths, and I only passed it on the 3rd attempt because my dad took me in hand. I was not good at maths, and still not good at maths. And we have calculators now, so why do you need to be? Excuse me, just going to have a little drink. Still coffee. It's cold now, but it doesn't matter. I like cold coffee as much as I like hot coffee. So yes, so with the maths, I'd just scraped, when they split us into sets for maths, I had just scraped into the top set, but actually that wasn't a good place for me to be. So I failed my maths at that level. The top set had a mathematician, not a teacher. He was a mathematician. He knew his stuff, but he didn't know how to teach it. He'd set the work. And don't forget, probably a lot of the children in the class were brighter than me because they hadn't struggled to get into the set, perhaps. And so he'd set the work, and then he'd go to sleep at the front of the class. Well, that's okay for the kids who understood what he was telling them, but I didn't know. I was floundering because I didn't know what to do. So I then was put down into the second set, and I was top of the second set, and I had a good teacher there. But I still struggled. So my dad then helped me. So I don't know if I got put down when I failed twice. I think I probably get put down to the second set after I'd failed twice. And then, so my dad took me in hand, and he helped me with so much. He was just drilling it into me. I don't remember much about what he was teaching me. I do remember he was dedicated to me, and I got my maths on my 3rd attempt. We were taking it a year early, so actually I think I caught up in time. I wasn't lagging behind because I failed it when I should have been taking it. We were trying to take it. We were taking it early to get it out the way. Only I didn't get it out the way because I didn't pass. But it didn't matter. The funny thing is, I eventually passed. And then when I was a teacher, a fairly new teacher, and unhappy in my teaching job because there was a lot of pressure from a headmistress who was really pressurizing us and telling the world that she had the most wonderful staff, and you know, she was doing various things sort of other than just being the head teacher. So she was doing a lot of stuff in the community and whatever. She was saying, oh, I have wonderful staff, and then she was being an absolute horror to us, putting so much pressure and stress on us. And of course I was a newly qualified teacher. That didn't really help. So I needed to find another job. I could not cope with the pressure that she was putting on us. And so, but remember, I was a newly qualified teacher. I needed a reference from her. So I had to be very careful about reasons why I was moving. And actually, I was moving because, well, one of the reasons I gave was to be nearer to where I lived. And that was actually genuine, because when I took my first teaching job there in that school, we didn't know where we'd put an offer in a house over that way. So we thought we would be living over there somewhere, and then we got gazumped on the house. So we weren't, and we ended up living, you know, further away. So it was quite okay to say I needed to leave to get a job nearer home, even if it wasn't quite, you know, wasn't really the reason I was leaving. But you have to be careful. You have to play the system, don't you? And so I went for the only job that was advertised. There was not much being advertised, but there was a job much nearer to me. But it was only primary school, remember? So we're talking primary school maths now. But it was a scale 2 for maths. You know, you've got scale 2 money for maths. I only applied for it because I wanted to get out of where I was and I was not happy and I needed to do whatever job I could. And that was a job that was being advertised near me. And so I went for the job and I got it. I couldn't believe I got it. But the headmaster told me off. But my dad's always encouraged me, to go for things and do what you can. Headmaster told me off because he told me I had terrible handwriting. Well, I did, and I still do to this day. I mean, we were part of a system where they taught you italic writing, which was beautiful. But then when you went on to secondary school, you had to speed up because you had to take notes at school, because it's not like now where you can look at it all on a computer. We had to take notes down all the time. And if you're trying to do it with a beautiful italic hand, you're not going to get the notes down. So then you have to write. So I think that's why my writing became very untidy. Well, that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. And but this head teacher was a stickler for handwriting. Now, but he said the reason I got the job, certainly my handwriting didn't get me the job on my application form. These days that wouldn't matter so much either, because you do your applications online, don't you? That sort of thing. But we had to hand it and write it. And he said my writing was awful. But he gave me the job. And the reason he gave me the job was because there were only 2 applicants. In the days when there were very few applicants for some jobs, there were only 2 of us. And the other person had a degree in some university in India or something like that. And he said that was not what he was looking for. I can't remember the exact reason, but I know that me as a person was more what he was looking for than the other applicant. But the other applicant had better handwriting. And he said if it was down to the handwriting, the other person would have got it. I've never been able to make my handwriting any nicer, but I've done other things that have got me by. So I ended up with a scale 2 post for maths. So all credit to my dad for helping me with my maths, which was marvelous. Let's just have a look at the comments. Richard says use Boo Boo and Yogi in Yellowstone Park. Jellystone Park. I wondered where. So Yellowstone Park, I think. Oh, I don't know. Between them, one of them. They say parents are your first teachers. They certainly are. So Deb's put maths. Old hands always help other airmen. Oh, right. Oh, she's giving. Oh, right. These are the ways she's got of learning things, certain sayings. What do you call it when it's a saying like that? For example, I remember the colours of the rainbow. I learnt it as a Roy G. Biv. That's how I learned it. Other people learnt it with a different. Is it, what do you call that when it's when you have something like that to help you? What sort of teacher am I when I don't know these things? But of course, don't forget, I was teaching the little ones, so I didn't need to know all the names of the nouns and pronouns and all those sort of things. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. And don't forget, I'm going to be 75 soon. So I forget easily. Right. So Richard says again, the way his brain works, he can see numbers. He learnt a lot from TV, also growing up with wonderful Johnny Ball. Think of a number. Yes, Johnny Ball. I remember Johnny Ball. Susan saying at middle school, she should have gone up to the top set maths, but refused to go as I didn't want to leave my friends, but also didn't like the teacher in the top set maths either. And the teachers are so, we are so influenced by the teachers we have. If you and a teacher don't get on, you're not going to be top of that set in that subject, because it just doesn't work like that, does it? If you like the teacher, you seem to do better. So there we go. But also didn't like the teacher in the top set maths either. On our leaving day, he signed my book as a teacher who never taught you. You were the furthest ahead in the school year 8. Whoops, hang on. And very happy in the second set doing the SMP maths books. We had the Oxford English books. I remember doing the English books and my dad helping me with that. I used to love doing all the, the writing out in the English books. And English, I wasn't so bad at English. Maths was you know, was not easy. But you know, I still knew all my times tables, and I could do a lot of math, but just the math is not really my subject. Then when you went to high school, you think you're still in the second set for those 3 years, but had useless teachers throughout, so lost your love of maths. That's the thing, isn't it? They can either inspire or kill your love of those things. Richard passed his exams with flying colours due to the excellent teachers as grammar school, which was single sex, which is better for boys as we get distracted easily. Girls, much better at multitasking. Okay. Oh yes, there we are. Deb's has come up with it. Richard of York gave battle in vain. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Oh, and talking of the colours of the rainbow, I had a mystery, and with this, I'm going now. I'm flitting over to my craft stuff, and I think my dad loved seeing me do craft stuff. Obviously, he didn't see the most recent craft stuff I've done, because I did a lot of my paper craft learning after he'd passed, but he loved to see us craft and do all those sorts of things. He encouraged us with all sorts of things, always encouraged us at whatever we were doing. But so of course, lots of you know that in my recovery from pneumonia, I used to watch a lot of tutorials on paper crafting and got a real love of paper crafting. And now, of course, I help to run a community group when I'm on the island, and we help some of those people to paper craft. And I was doing something, going to make some, the group is called the Community Cuppa. And I have a set of stencils in books. It's called the Template Library, and there's a library, and they're rainbow coloured. This is where the brain works. They're rainbow coloured, and so I used a stencil of a cup of tea to make a card. So it was like a cup, so it was hinged at the top, but it was the shape of a cup, both sides. And then, so I was doing this, and I'd done it in a previous, another group where I help out sometimes. And for that, I had also made the envelopes from the stencils. So when I wanted to come and do it for the Community Cuppa, I wanted to make matching envelopes. And I could find all my template libraries except the Violet book. And I just didn't know. I know my place is a bit of a mess at home, but I thought, it's not here. I can't find it. I wonder where it's gone. Where's it going to be hiding? And I still couldn't find it. So I had to, mnemonics you're talking about, Richard, mnemonics, when you use the letters like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And Richard of York gained battle in vain. That's it. Anyway, the mystery was solved when I came back here on Monday. There, on my table in my bedroom here, was my template library, the Violet templates. There we go. So this is a book. It's amazing. It's an amazing book, and it's got pages like this. So can you see? They are templates. So and they come out, so you can take them out to look, and they pop back in when you've finished with them. They pop back in, and there are all sorts of different things here. They have another book. So you have a big template library like this. These are templates, and then you have a smaller book of the same colour that has the pictures and the way and teaches you how to actually make the thing. Then there were tutorials on video on YouTube as well to teach you if you wanted to learn with a video. So there are different ways of making envelopes, but I wanted to do it this way, and this is the easiest way I find. And so look, basically, can you see that's an envelope shape? I don't know if you can see. Whoops, how well can you see? You might be able to see it. And so I would draw through that, and I use, when I draw through all of that onto a lovely piece of coloured paper that I want to make an envelope from. I will use a pen, and it's a heat pen. What do they call it? It's a heat pen, so you write with it. It's really for doing on fabric, and then if you heat it, the mark disappears when you don't want it there. So I use that on paper as well. So I will make the draw this envelope out on a piece of paper, cut it all out, score it where it says score, and then just heat it so all the lines that you've done all disappear. So I heat it with a heat gun, or even a hairdryer, and the lines disappear. So you've got no marks on there that are looking ugly. And it's so nice to make your own envelope. In fact, I can show you. Look, here's a little one I made earlier. So there we go. So that's how they start out, like that. And then you cut them out, and you score on the score lines, and then you fold it up, whichever way you do it. Whoops. Oh, I think, wait a minute, no, I've done it the other way. Sorry. So you do it like that. So you've got your envelope, and then you stick it all down, and you can, put a label on there and put the address on there, and you've made your own. So you can match your cards and your envelopes, which is really lovely. Clever heat gun pens. They are. Never tried on paper. No. Well, I didn't. I bought them for doing on fabric, and then when they were doing the demonstrations on, and this is how Heather and I met through our crafting. When they were doing the demonstrations, somebody said that you could actually use a heat pen on the paper, and that's how I did it. It was just somebody else doing it, but it's another top tip, Debs. It's great. You remember the TV program on origami when you were young, and that links with papercraft in a connective brain. Absolutely. So anyway, so this is just a bigger version of this, and in here there are several envelopes depending on the size of your card. So you might be making a 4x6 or a 5x7 or all the different sizes. I've got all the envelope ones in that folder, and of course it was here, which is why I couldn't find it at home. I'm so delighted that I found it and it hasn't gone missing. So I will be making some matching envelopes and cards going forward. But there we go. So I found that. I also forgot to tell you what the knitting project was. I started telling you about the knitting right at the beginning of the broadcast, and I forgot to tell you that, and then I'll do a bit more about my dad if anybody still wants to listen. So I showed you my knitting that I'm actually doing for a friend, making this cardigan, but just at the minute I'm unmaking it. I've got a few more rows to unpick till I sort the problem out, and then I start knitting back again. But a few weeks ago, I don't think I've told you this, a few weeks ago I was at the Riverfest, and when I was there I met Ben. I know I started telling this story, but I think I went off at a tangent like I usually do. So I met Ben, who helps with the fundraising who helps with Sandown Carnival, and with the Sandown Regatta. And I said to him, oh, if ever you need any prizes and toys and things, let me know and we can knit some things. So yesterday he got in touch and he said, oh yes, I did get halfway through this story. And he said, can you make some sea creatures for the regatta? And I said, yes, when is the regatta? So the regatta is on the 10th of August. And so I needed, now last time I went back, I took back the knitting books with all my lovely small knitted toys, some of which are sea creatures, which is what the theme is. Are you going to bed? You are? Right, okay. I can do that. I'll do it. Oh, yes, if you don't mind. My daughter's just going to go past and shut the window, folks. So, anyway, can you manage? So Ben said, could we make some sea creatures? As I say, I took all the books home from here that had all my little toys in them. And so they're at home. And of course I'm here and I'm going to be here for a little while. So I'm now trying to find some patterns of sea creatures. And also, I want any of the gang who are interested in making sea creatures, if you want to make some sea creatures. But I will need them on the island for the 10th of August. And I will be back by before then. So if anybody can do that, or if anybody's got, I think I did um, Blue Peter catchphrase. Here's one I made earlier. I don't know. So, yes, so I'm not quite sure if I did finish that story or not, but I was just anybody who came late in the broadcast. We are making now, one of our projects is making sea creatures. I've got some wonderful octopus patterns at home, and do you know what? I had an octopus pattern and I nearly put it in my knitting bag, and I didn't. I put it back on the shelf. So anyway, I'm sure that I can find some patterns, or people can help me out with some patterns of things like that I can knit. They are for raffle prizes, so they can be big, patterns of bigger things, or I'll make quite a few little ones, and then I'll make one or two bigger ones. I've got that lovely octopus pattern at home that I made a while back that had it had a scarf and a hat on, didn't it? And it used to sit behind me when I was doing my broadcasts. But that went off to a charity who particularly like octopuses. Octopi, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to be looking at things like that. But I know that I've got loads of them at home. But the thing is, if I wait till I go home, I won't have long to knit them for the event, because the event's on the 10th of August. So I want to intersperse them between this cardigan, because sometimes I like to take a break from knitting on these very long rows here, and so I can do a bit of this and a bit of that, and then come to a bit of this and a bit of that until we get it all done. So that's good. But my dad always encouraged me with my knitting. He used to call me Madame Lafarge, because apparently Madame Lafarge used to knit it was the French Revolution, wasn't it? She used to sit and do her knitting while they were chopping people's heads off. Oh, like they did. So yes, and he's not the only one who's ever called me Madame Lafarge. Somebody the other day when I was knitting in the library at the Wellbeing Coffee Morning, also called me Madame Lafarge. So that was fun. But he always encouraged me in any of those things I did. He encouraged me, when I stumbled. In fact, when I first went, now some of you might find it hard to think that I was quiet and mousy at school. A lot of people who know me now can never believe that I was quiet and mousy, but it was. When I went to secondary school, grammar school, at 11, it really phased me. I went from a small school with, not that many children to a much bigger school where there were a load more children, and the school was bigger, and I got lost. I remember getting lost on my first day in the school, couldn't find my way to my classroom, and I found myself crying in the corridor because nobody was there to help me. I didn't know where to go. I think somebody came along and actually found me and took me to my classroom, but I really was quite upset. But forgotten the start of that story, folks. What was I saying? So, oh yes, so I was quiet and mousy at school. I got very nervous in assemblies. I think it was because suddenly I was in a much bigger environment with a lot more pupils, and I found it overwhelming at first, and I got very nervous. And my dad, he tried what he could to encourage me to be in school, and he 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 was such a canny dad. He gave me some special tablets, special pills to make me feel good. If I was feeling nervous, I could take one of these special pills. Little did I know then that they were Smarties, or something very similar to Smarties. But it worked. It made me feel okay. And, because Daddy was, concerned about me, told me how to deal with it. And I did deal with it. And since then, of course, I've become a lot bolder and not so quiet and mousy anymore, and speak up when I need to speak up for those who. Sorry, we lost the broadcast there. So I do speak up now for people who don't have a voice. Debs is saying a Nessie with 4 legs and a long head and tail and bumps on his back, a finger puppet on 4 fingers. Excellent. Yes, I remembered. No, my friend reminded me when I messaged her and asked her if she could help me, if she'd got some of the same books as me, could she just screenshot the pictures? Because I'd already bought the book, I wouldn't be breaching the copyright. I'm always very conscious not to do things like that. And so then she reminded me that I belonged to this online Let's Knit group, and so I went online or tried to get online, and I got online and then it disappeared again. And I got online and it disappeared again. So I'm going to wait till I get to my wonderful new laptop, my reconditioned laptop, and then I will be able to get online and find some of those patterns, because it's a subscription. Instead of buying the magazine, I subscribed to the online magazine, and all the patterns are there. You know, if I was buying the magazines, I would end up with piles and piles and piles of magazines, and then I'd want to find, you know, maybe an octopus, and I'd have to go through all these magazines to find the one with the octopus in it. Whereas if I belonged online, I could just do a search and find the octopus very quickly, and I wouldn't have all those things building up in big piles in my flat. And so that's why I do that. But I'd forgotten about it for a little while, and then my friend just reminded me. I don't know why I didn't think about it myself. I just hadn't really given it much thought. So I'm looking forward to being able to get online with that. But this takes me to another memory of my dad: computers. My dad wasn't fazed by computers, but of course, you know, he was quite far into his life's journey when computers came about. And he I told you he was a local preacher, so he used to write sermons and do the services, plan out the service and the hymns that went with it, whatever he was going to preach about. And of course, we were Methodists, and Charles and John Wesley had written, you know, they were from Methodism, and um, they had written all these wonderful hymns. And so um, dad found out he was on the internet. He got on a computer and he got on the internet, and there was a hymn on it. It said about a hymn from John or Charles Wesley, and he pushed a button, and it's playing the hymn to me. It was so funny. He was so excited when he heard, you know. So he wasn't frightened by things like that. You know, some people are a bit fearful of new technology. He wasn't, and I just remember him being so excited about that. But one of the pre-technology days, when my sister and I were away at college at the same time. So she went to uni. She was 2 years ahead of me, so she went to uni 2 years before I did. And then I went to College of Education. So while she was in her last year at uni, I was in my first year at College of Education. And Dad would write to us, or sometimes he would type. He would get the typewriter out. But what he did, he put carbon paper in it. So rather than do a letter to her and a letter to me, he did a letter to both of us. You know, you couldn't just print it off on a printer then. These weren't things that were happening. You know, you had to do it with good old carbon paper. So I've still got some of these letters now. It's amazing. And so he would put carbon paper in between, and then he'd write "dear," and then he'd leave a gap. And when he took the letters out of the typewriter, he would write either Sue or Lynn, depending on who it was going to. And then he'd write us letters, and his letters were such fun. And he would tell us all sorts of stories, just fun stories. He'd make ordinary things that went on in the day really fun and exciting, just to keep us, you know, happy. I think I was a bit homesick when I first went away to college, because I'd never been to college before. My granddaughters are just about to go off to uni, and I was chatting to them, and I just need to, you know, to remind them that actually, you know, we do get a little bit. Maybe it's not. It's okay if you you know, if you have, I was trying to go through talking the motions of going away and all that, and I'm not sure how they'll fare. I think one of them will fare much better than the other. You know, they might be twins, but they have very different personalities, and it's just nice. And you know what? I did say, well, and I could always come and do a visit. They might like it, they might not. We'll see. um, so, oh, Debs has got a free copyright. Nessie, excellent. A cup of cost to anyone else. Okay, that's brilliant, Debs. If you can, I could get started on something because I don't want to not be using my time profitably and then end up with sort of donating 2 small toys to the raffle when maybe I could have done 15 toys or something like that. It would be good. Richard's saying, or add CC or BCC on emails. Yes, that's what you have to do now so that you don't give out people's data away. You have to blind copy them or just carbon copy them on the email. But we actually did it. He did it with carbon paper. And then he would make the most uninteresting thing fun and interesting, you know, and it was just such fun. I will have to see when I go home. I have to see if I can find any of the letters. I'm sure I can find some of the letters and read them to you sometime. But just he was an amazing man. He was not tall of stature. He was quite short, and I think I've told this story before, I know, but when we were at the grammar school, so the grammar school was co-ed, so it took boys and girls, which is why Mum and Dad chose that school, because there were 4 of us, 2 girls and 2 boys, and obviously there was 2 years between me and my sister, and then there was 2 years between me and my first brother, and so we did overlap in school, and so that's why we went to Drayton Manor in Hanwell, and they had an open day, and my dad didn't want us to feel, he didn't want to let us down, you know, so there were things for dads to do, and there was one of those things where you have to blow hard into a machine to test your lung thing. I mean, I had to do that more recently when I was getting over my pneumonia. I had to blow in this thing while they sorted out whether I was blowing hard enough or whatever, the lung capacity was good enough. Don't ask me to explain it because I know what it does, but I can't explain it very well. Anyway, so this machine was to test, the lung capacity, and my dad, he didn't want to let us down. So he took the most enormous breath before he blew into this thing. And he blew so hard. And I was frightened, I think, that he was going to blow himself to bits. But he did not want to fail. Oh, he was brilliant. It was just amazing to see him. I think we were a bit worried that he was going to do himself an injury, but he didn't do himself an injury. He was fine, and he put in a good performance. I don't think he was the best, the top, but he certainly put in a good performance. But so many happy memories. He worked in the civil service for years, and he worked at Shepherd's Bush. So we lived at Ealing Broadway, which was the end of the Central Line. And the Shepherd's Bush, he used to go on the tube train to Shepherd's Bush for his work, and then come back on the tube train and back to us. And one of the things I remember about that was we would get to go once a year to the office, and we would go up and go to the office, and we would go into his room, and then we would get into, I don't think we travelled in party clothes, I don't know, maybe we did, and then we got ready because they had an office party, and they had an office party for the children of all the people who worked in Minford House, it was in Shepherd's Bush, and the party was held in the canteen, and I think it was at the top of the building, and we used to go in there and have party games. Now I can remember my brother always seemed to win musical chairs because he played it tactically, and whereas some children the music would play and they'd just go round and round the chairs, and it's where you have a lot of chairs, one chair facing that way and one chair facing the other way, and then that chair facing, so they alternated the way the chairs faced, and when the music was playing, you had to go round the chairs. When the music stopped, you had to sit on a chair. So every round they would take a chair away, so there would always be somebody without a chair. So my brother played it very tactically, and he would stand close to a chair until the person had gone past the next empty chair, and then he'd move forward. He wouldn't move forward from one empty chair until the next one, until the next one was available. So he played it very tactically, and he nearly always would win. Whereas other people didn't play it so tactically, so they weren't watching. They'd just go round and round till the music stopped, and then try and find a chair. It was such fun. Um, but I did love those Christmas parties at Dad's office. That was just amazing. And then I think we all got a present from Father Christmas to take home, and that was really nice. So my dad was a tax inspector, and in his later life, he ended up fighting tax inspectors who were trying. So in the days when my dad did it, it was a job that you really had to work hard to get a job like that. And in later years, it just seemed to be that there weren't the same restrictions put on. Anybody seemed to be able to, well, I don't know, but it wasn't as tough to get in. And some of the tax inspectors, so in his later years, he ended up fighting with tax inspectors who didn't seem to know the rules, and he was putting them right on how to do their job when he was in his late 80s, and actually arguing with some of the tax inspectors because they'd got it wrong, and just that's not where I get my argumentative streak from, or maybe it is. Who knows? Anyway, let's have a look. Debs is saying her nan's handwritten letter she printed onto cotton, stuck onto wax paper in an inkjet printer. Oh, makes a lovely fabric to make a pocket tissue cover. Wow, how lovely! What a nice idea. So anyway, so many stories of my dad. One of the stories that I told recently, I know when I was going through some of the memories, was when the first house that I lived in, and I think I told you my mum had 3 home births, and we lived at births, and we lived in this small house in Greenford until it was just couldn't contain our family anymore. We needed a bigger space, and my mum, her job was being mum and looking after us, and there weren't the opportunities to go out and see people like there are now for modern mums. I'm not saying modern mums have it any easier. They certainly don't. But I know that when I had my first child, if I got fed up at home, I could put the child in the pram, walk up the road, and there would be a little coffee shop or something like that. I could go in, and there would be people, and it would be good, or I could, there was always interaction. And I lived in an area where it was like a little village within a suburb of Ealing, and people would smile at you, especially if you were pushing a baby in a pram. So suddenly you didn't feel like so isolated, because of course a lot of women, they work, and then they leave work to have their families. So they've been in a busy job interacting with a lot of people, and then suddenly they're at home with a baby and no adults to talk to. For my mum, she found it very difficult. She had 3 small children, um, and I think she had one friend locally who was a bit of a lifeline to her. But I think she went through a period of being quite difficult. So my dad, he used to come home. Um, he used to, I think this is right. He used to come home at lunchtime. I know at some cases he did. I can't remember whether it was at this house. No, I think that it was perhaps at the next house he did that. Yes, it was. It was at the next house. It was a bigger house because it was so good that he did come home. So mum was struggling a bit with mental health. It happens. And so dad would come home at lunchtime. And on that occasion, he came home. And we had sash windows in that house. And mum had opened the sash window. And for somehow her hands were here. And the sash broke, the sash cord broke and went down on her hands. So she was pinned by her hands in the window. But fortunately, Dad was coming home and was almost home soon after she did it. So that was a stroke of luck, wasn't it? Because I don't know what would have happened if she'd stayed pinned there all day. And especially if we were children. I can't remember how old I don't remember it. I only remember them telling us about it. But the other incident that I was going to tell you was when Dad came home when we were living in the small house. He must have come home from work. It wasn't necessarily the middle of the day, but I don't think he would have got home like that. Later on, he was a driver, so he could have driven home, and that makes sense now. I'm trying to remember the memories. And on this occasion, we had a tube station near where we lived, and he would go on the tube. That's right, he'd go on from Greenford Station to Shepherd's Bush, and then he would come home. And there was outside the station there was a road that was quite a busy road, okay, and I don't know if there were zebra crossings or anything there at that point. But he came home one day and he was laughing, and my mum said, "Why are you laughing?" And he said, "Because I've just seen a tin of baby food squashed into the middle of the road." And my mum said, "Yes, but you won't laugh when you know you paid for that tin of baby food." Because what had happened, Mum she had one of those those big coach prams that people used to have when they didn't have cars, and they would walk and put the children and all the shopping on them. And Mum had a big coach pram. She had three of us, so she would have my brother in one end of the pram, me in the other end of the pram, and I think my sister might have been just walking at the side because she would have been bigger. And so my mum had to get us across this busy road. And as she was crossing this busy road, my brother threw the can of baby food out of the pram. And so my mum's priority was to get us onto the pavement and safe. So she did that. And then as she turned round to go and retrieve the can of baby food, a car ran it over and squashed it into the road. No, I need to go in a minute. We have been 3 hours. It's been a long time. Please don't feel sorry that you've got to go. Night, night, Debs. And so I actually think I need to finish. I could go on and on and on with so many stories. Let's save some of them for another day. Because there are so many that we could have lots more stories. And also, Corrie, I don't know if Corrie's in the broadcast tonight, but Corrie and Kath called attention to something in my memories the other day where I was on a safari. And they said, "Oh, we don't know about that." So I will save my safari stories and that for another night, maybe next week. Okay, so I'm going to finish up now. My family have all gone to bed. Perhaps I should be going to bed. Perhaps I should even finish my coffee before I go to bed. So it's been brilliant with all of you here coming in on this Father's Day 2025 and allowing me to ramble on. Heather says she always enjoys my stories. So there are stories and stories that will go on and on, but I will bring some of those other stories, and maybe I might do an extra live stream one week. I don't know. I'm not promising that because I don't know what's happening. I need to make sure I can do it, keep to a promise. But I will, God willing, be back next Sunday. I will be here still, unless the plan changes, which it does sometimes. And so, for now, it's going to be night night. Thank you all for bearing with me as I've been recounting these lovely stories. I mean, I enjoy just reliving them myself. So if you can come in and enjoy them as well, that's brilliant. But there are so many of them. I think I need to, write a lot of the daddy memories down. So for now, folks, go enjoy whatever you're doing now. If it's here in the UK, obviously it's bedtime for most of us. Over in Australia for Hazel, it's getting up time. Heather, I don't know where you are. I've forgotten. I think you're behind us, aren't you, time-wise, over in the States? So you've probably got a little while before you get ready for bed. But I'm going to go to bed, and I'm actually quite tired now. So I will see you all again very soon. Night, night, everybody. Take care, and have a wonderful week. Catch up with you soon. Bye. 6:17 p.m. Yes, so I thought it was. Yes. So you are, I think, yes, you were 4 hours behind us, and then we our hour went forward. Or did you change it? I don't know if you changed the hours. I thought it was about 4 or 5 hours. Yes, it is. Night night. Thank you. Bye.